your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Down, this is case number 142 in the matter of Bevilacqua versus Bonnet, and case number 143 in the matter of Kaiser versus Bonnet. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Perhaps we could finally put this unfortunate incident to rest. According to what I read, you were crossing the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And you allege that the defendant came into an intersection she shouldn't have been and hit you with her car.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't severely injure you with her car. You jumped back. She hit you on your knee. Something. Where?
Right. Brushed me about here.
She brushed you. But you weren't hurt.
No, ma'am.
But you were angry. And then an interaction took place between the two of you that was most unfortunate on both of your parts, which resulted in you being arrested.
No, I was never arrested.
Taken into custody at some point, charged with an assault.
Charged, yes.
with an assault. All right.
Strong arm robbery.
Charged with something.
Okay.
And those charges were eventually dropped by the district attorney's office. But am I correct in reading between the lines in your complaint, sir, that there is a restraining order preventing you from going near the defendant?
Well, it's not a restraining order.
What is it?
I'm supposed to stay away from her, which is...
Is it an order for you to stay away from her?
It's not an official restraining order, no.
It is not?
No.
I mean, it's not written anywhere?
No.
The judge just told you to stay away from her?
Oh, no, it's stay away. It's not... Okay. I'm supposed to stay away from her until January 25th of 2002.
Where is that written?
I have it, Your Honor.
May I see it, please?
Those are the trial transcripts, Your Honor.
I'm just looking at the order because he's not sure it was an order. So after this case is over, Mr. Bevilacqua, you are directed to attend 3 hours of anger management classes by the 15th of March of 2001 and stay away from the victim.
Yes.
That was the order, signed by a judge.
Right.
Right. I mean, did you think I was just a fake person here that they picked out of, that they picked out of a supermarket? Didn't you think that I had any legal experience at all, sir?
Of course.
All right. So, Mr. Bevilacqua, what you want is all kinds of damages from the defendant because you were put through a court process, you were embarrassed, whatever. You want damages in the amount of $5,000. The defendant is cross-claiming. She says that you did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for the exact same amount, $5,000. So we've reached a point where you were brushed by defendant's car. Pick it up from there, Mr. Bevilacqua.
Okay, I fell back. I yelled, yo. I looked up to see the driver of the car flash her middle finger at me and take off.
Okay.
Continued walking home, got up the street, and saw a car that looked just like the one that had just sideswiped me, frantically trying to get into this parking spot. And I just went up and said, excuse me, was that you who just turned on to 3rd off of Rose? And she said, yes. And then I said, well, you just sideswiped me with your car. And she said, what exact words?
Of course.
Super. She said, you, I don't care, I'm tired, I just came from the airport. And then I said, no, wrong answer. Okay, you ask me if I'm okay, you tell me that you're sorry, and then I go. And then she exploded.
What do you mean she exploded?
She screamed, don't you tell me what to do, you stupid... And swung her fist at me.
Did she hit you?
Blocked it.
And what did you do?
That was it. Walked, I said, told her she was crazy and she should wash it or she's going to kill somebody, and I walked away.
And then what happened?
I got about 10 feet away, and boom, got it from behind. Turned around, and it was her screaming. Screaming threats, screaming, obscenities, everything. And waving her sunglasses at me. There was a little scratch in her sunglasses that had fallen out of her hand.
How did they fall out of her hand?
Because they were in her hand when she hit me, along with her keys.
Did she ever ask you for your name? During that period of time, she was asking you for your name.
She may have, but you know what?
Okay.
She was crazy.
That's not what I asked.
I'm sorry, yes, she probably
Don't be a
did.
wise guy in here, sir.
I'm sorry,
There's only one wise person in here.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Bird.
So, I couldn't go home because she was following me. She followed, so I just was walking around. She followed me for almost an hour, screaming. And at one point, we were near my apartment, and I wanted her to go away. I turned and tried to reason with her. And I said, listen, your road rage, your whatever drugs are on, are making you completely insane. Please leave me alone. And she screamed no, that I had to give her $200 and some for her sunglasses. And I said, I didn't break your sunglasses, I'm not paying for them. And then she said, oh yeah, well, I'm going to tell the police you assaulted me and they'll make you pay. And then I came to the store at the corner of 5th and Rose. And my girlfriend, Tamara, comes walking out of the store because she had been there, like buying something. And Tamara sees this going on, comes over and goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And she goes after Tamara. She starts screaming threats and obscenities at Tam, starting with, "Do you know?" She's going to have Tamara thrown in jail. Goes over behind the car, screaming, "You're not going anywhere, you blah, blah, blah. I'm going to track you down." Blah. So she's blocking the exit. I went up to her from the side and said exactly, "Hey, lady, yo, I'm leaving." Got about 15 feet away, and then boom, got it again. Turned to Tamara and screamed, "Go, get out of here. I'll deal with her. Go." So I let her scream at me for another few minutes, and then take off. Cut through the alley, go to a friend's place.
Okay. Apparently, you got her license plate number,
That's correct.
and through that, you got his name.
That's correct.
Okay. Police contacted you. What out-of-pocket expenses did you have as a result of this incident, sir?
$12,500.
For what?
Legal fees.
You have a bill for that?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay. And I'd like to see that. Then I have a couple of pointed questions because I let you tell your story.
Here you go. Thanks.
I see the checks made payable directly to the lawyer. Mr. Bevilacqua,
Yes.
I read your complaint very carefully, and what I want to know first is, you saw her park her car, and you had a conversation with her, and clearly you could see that you weren't getting anywhere. Why didn't you, before this thing escalated, just go over to her car and take down her license plate number? Go over to a phone booth, take out your cell phone, call the police, and say, "License plate number so-and-so just hit me and took off. I was a pedestrian." Wouldn't that have been the smart thing to do, sir?
Yes, it was, and I regret it now.
That would have been the smart thing to do.
May I explain?
No, that would have
Okay.
been the smart thing to do.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
explanation would be stupid.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Bevilacqua says he was falsely arrested for assault because Ann Bonnet lied to police. Stephen claims it all started when Ann nearly ran him over.
Now, why don't you tell me, you're going through the intersection and you were in the intersection at that point illegally?
I made a right-hand turn from a busy street onto a residential street. While I was going through the crosswalk, I saw a gentleman step off the far side of the crosswalk. I continued down the road and then heard this screaming and looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw a gentleman screaming at me and giving me the finger.
That was this gentleman.
Yes,
Now, I want to know, first, do you have any of the police reports?
I do.
I'd like to see them all, please.
It's the LAPD.
Where had you been coming from, Dr. Bonnet?
Coming from the airport.
Where had you been?
San Francisco.
For how long?
For 4 days, sir. Ma'am.
What were you doing there?
I was taking an exam.
How many days was the exam?
It was a 3-hour exam on Sunday, the day of the incident.
So it was a pretty stressful day.
It was.
Okay, continue.
So I went through the intersection and heard the screaming, looked behind,
Saw him. You didn't know
give
you
him-
would hit him. Go
I
ahead.
had not hit him, Your Honor.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe that you probably brushed him. You didn't hurt him, but you didn't stop your car.
No,
now,
I didn't
keep
stop
going.
the car.
Keep going.
I also held up my right middle finger in the rearview mirror. I continued up and over a hill, another 1,000 feet to my residence, and parked on the right-hand side of the street. I was getting my stuff out of the car when a man came, who I did not recognize, came running up to me and said, "Did you just turn onto this street?" I said, "Yes." He started swearing at me at that point and said, "You are the so-and-so who almost hit me. Do you realize that? And then you gave me the finger." And I said, "You gave me the finger first." At which point he became enraged, lunged at me with his right hand, scratched my right face, took my glasses, threw them on the ground, and they broke. The glasses are here, and I have photographs as well.
Well, I'd like to see the photographs, and could you please indicate in this police report where it indicates that you were injured? Take a look at these police reports and show me where it indicates you were
I have
injured.
a photo of the injury, ma'am.
I don't want to see the photo. Well, I'll look at the photos of the injury. I want to see in the police reports, because they're voluminous, where police always indicate what the marks are that they've seen, what was the complaint. I want to see whether police officers noted any injuries to you.
Here at the bottom it says she took pictures of the scratch to my face.
Let me see.
Last paragraph.
Now, I want to see where the officer wrote down on a report. You see, on the first page of this report, he writes down type of property taken, receipt, nature of the injury, none, according to the police officer. Nature of injury, none. Why?
I wanted to find out if they wanted to take notice. They took the picture.
Yeah, they noticed nothing. Neither do I. I noticed what looks like a pimple on your forehead.
I was lucky it was a small scratch.
I said I noticed what it looks like a pimple on your forehead. I'm very smart. I don't think his body came into contact with your forehead, madam. I believe that he might have knocked the sunglasses off of your face. Maybe he did that, and maybe the sunglasses were in your hand, as he says, and they fell to the ground, or he knocked them to the ground. I believe that that's possible, too. But I don't believe that he ever put his hands on you. Anybody who would believe that, looking at this picture of this pimple, is a fool. Go ahead. Keep going.
I picked up the sunglasses and I said, "You just broke my sunglasses. You can't do that." He said, "Yes, I can. This is road rage. I can do anything I want to you."
Fine. At that point, Dr. Bonnet, what would a smart, intelligent, educated person do? Would go home.
He knew where I lived, ma'am. He was at my house. I was afraid of him.
So you follow him in the street? That's what you did. You followed him in the street.
That's correct.
And after you followed him in the street, he says you were yelling obscenities at him. Subsequently to that, you accused him of a strong-armed robbery. That's what the police report says.
That's correct.
Well, that was a lie.
He took...
That was a lie.
It's not a lie, Your Honor.
Sure it is. Just like it would be a lie if he said, "I'm filing a report, assault with a deadly weapon." Your car. Car's a deadly weapon. You were where you shouldn't have been. There was a four-way stop sign. He's a pedestrian. He had the right of way. Yes, there was a four-way stop sign. That's what it says right here. If he's out in the street, you have no business moving. So you touched him. That's assault with a deadly weapon. Would that have been overkill, Dr. Bonnet?
That would have been, since it didn't happen.
That would have been overkill if he reported that. Clearly, he wasn't injured. He got up, he walked, he wasn't injured. But he expected somebody to stop and say, "I'm sorry, forgive me, I didn't realize that I hit you. Are you okay?" Instead, you're stressed. According to the police reports, you've gotten 3 hours sleep for the last 5 days because you were studying for these exams. You come home to the airport, they lost your luggage. It was a long day, it was a miserable day, and you acted inappropriately, especially when you filed a complaint against not only him, stand up, but her.
Your Honor, I did not file a
Oh,
complaint.
yes, you did. When you report to the police a strong-armed robbery and that she's driving the car because you wanted to be able to get his name, and the police go to her house and intimidate her and walk in with handcuffs and tell her that there's complaint of a strong-armed robbery and she's driving the getaway car all over your lousy pair of sunglasses?
The robbery was not the sunglasses, Your Honor. He took a piece of paper from me. That was what the police...
Because you were acting like a nut!
I was not.
You were acting like a nut! Maybe you were stressed, maybe you were tired, but you were acting like a nut. Any smart woman, if they're faced with somebody who is acting inappropriately, and you think he's acting inappropriately, I don't necessarily think so. You could have killed him in your state of stress, and you just kept going. And aside from that, you flipped him off. I would have been infuriated too, but you're a woman, and slightly more vulnerable. So if he comes up to you, and if he's furious, and he knocks your sunglasses to the ground, you take your sunglasses and you say, "Forget it." How many blocks did you follow him?
He followed...
How many blocks did you follow him?
2. May I tell the rest of my story?
Sure. Because then you're trying to get her license plate. You have a piece of paper in your hand. I read the reports, right? He comes up to you and grabs the piece of paper out of your hand. Is that right?
That's
so
correct.
far, right? I wouldn't want a nut like you to know where my girlfriend lived either. You were acting like a nut. And then you report that as a strong-arm robbery with her driving the getaway car?
The police decided that that was a strong-arm robbery, the keeping of the paper, which he later returned to the police. He had it in his possession.
I find that you're responsible for his legal fees. And the most I can give him is $5,000, which is exactly what I'm giving him, and I am dismissing your counterclaim. You acted inappropriately on that day, and you should have apologized from the very beginning. Case over. Your counterclaim is dismissed, and I'm awarding him $5,000. Now, you sit down.
Thank you.
I want you to describe to me, Miss Kaiser.
Yes.
I want you to describe to me, after this whole incident is over, you go home. Your boyfriend tells you take off. The nut is following you, right? She's got your license plate number. How would you receive this first alert from the police?
3 policemen showed up at my door, banged on it, and let me know that if I didn't open the door immediately, that they were going to come in.
What did they say?
They came in and actually started asking me questions about my car. I didn't really know what they were getting at, and they considered me to be evasive, and started telling me that if I didn't tell them what they wanted to know, they were going to arrest me on the spot. And since it was a Sunday, I wouldn't be able to contact a lawyer, I wouldn't be able to be bailed out or arraigned, and I would have to spend the night in jail.
What do they want to know? They want to know his name.
They wanted to know who was driving my car. They basically were backing into asking me his name, and I honestly didn't know what they wanted at the beginning. When they did, I told them, actually fairly early in the conversation, but once it started getting this detailed, that I would much prefer to speak to them after I spoke to an attorney. And once again, we were back to, you're going into prison, now put your hands up, we've got cuffs.
So how long did they stay in your house?
About 2.5 hours. They kept me in my house. After the hour of questioning, I had to wait an hour and a half until she came down, looked at my car, identified it, and left.
So the next day it was over?
Actually, it was over in terms of my experiences with the police, and that was frightening, but it was not over in that both the police that we talked to and the Santa Monica City Attorney's Office were still considering pressing charges against me.
As being a co-conspirator in a strong-armed robbery?
The driver of the getaway car in a strong-arm robbery.
You see how ridiculous things got?
I never accused her of anything, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the case of Kaiser v. Bonnet in the amount of $2,500.
Fair enough.
Step up.
Yes.
A couple of things to say. Could you have behaved better that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Certainly did nothing criminal that day. I find that based upon what little I've heard and from looking at these photographs and listening to the story, you did nothing criminal that day. Certainly nothing that would have required you to spend $12,500 for a lawyer. I find, however, that despite the fact that he could have behaved differently that day, I'm merely taking down your license plate, you were the precipitating factor in all of this trouble because stressed out as you may be, you didn't have the right of way, you brushed him with your car, he doesn't look like a nut to me that he would follow you if you hadn't even tapped him with your car. See, all he was looking for was an apology. But you kept going and were rude besides. You precipitated it. You pay. That's all.
Case number 174.
That is why you got your car back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Rest of your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 264 on the calendar in the matter of Murphy versus Hart.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Murphy, the defendant is your former son-in-law.
Yes, he is.
When did you make the first loan to your son-in-law?
In the early part of 1997. It was a personal loan. It was for $2,700.
For what?
He expressed that he was having some financial difficulties, housing and supporting my grandson. He repaid me $1,000 of that because he got his income tax return.
Okay. What else?
In 1998, my girlfriend went to an auction. Richard needed a sofa. The sofa was $242. I advanced him a personal loan of $300.
For what?
I don't know. He just asked me to lend him the money. We went to Vegas, and I lent him $100
For what?
to gamble with.
How come you kept lending him this money? He wasn't paying you back regularly, so why would you lend him money to gamble?
Because he looked so dejected when we were in Vegas, so I just felt sorry for him.
Well, you felt sorry for him. Did you give him the $100, or did he say to you, could I please have $100 and I'll pay you back?
I offered to lend. I asked him, did he want a loan? And I said, you would have to pay it back. And he said yes.
No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Go ahead. What's
Okay.
next?
Then this time I had put him on a payment plan of $100. He made payments from August to December in $100 increments that came to $500. In April, he came in my house. He gave me $150 and told me that he had other kids and that he had quit his 2 jobs because he was being sued for child support and that he could no longer pay me.
Richard,
Yes, ma'am.
got a couple of questions to ask you, sir.
Okay.
It appears from your answer that there was a period of time when you had full custody of your son.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
From 97 to 99 of September.
1997 to September of 99.
Yes, ma'am. And I can recall the date in January of 97 due to the fact that she called me at work saying that if you feel if I'm a better parent, would pick my son up. So
The court papers can be subpoenaed that says that Richard has custody of Ryan from Thursday to Sunday, and my daughter had him the rest of the time.
You have those papers?
according to Marianne, she knows definitely for a fact that I had my son from 97 to 99.
Put your hand down.
I also know that he was
Put your hand down. When I need you, I'll call you.
It's like this. When her daughter found a boyfriend, she wasn't going to be my son's mother anymore. She knows that for a fact.
I think that that's probably true. I think that Miss Murphy knew that there was a period of time when your son really needed you to be either a full-time custodian or there a good deal of the time. Isn't that right, Miss Murphy?
He was a very good father, and I give him, my hat goes off to him.
Right. Now, what I assume happened at some point, you met your new wife. Are you married now?
No,
You have a
fiancé.
girl. You have a fiance.
Yes, ma'am.
With whom you have children.
Yes, I have 2 boys, yes.
With your fiance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're not quite ready to make a commitment to get married. Is
Right
that the
now, we're
idea?
trying to
Just
get-
the children are okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a fiance and you have 2 little children, and things get kind of busy. Your son is with his mother more often than he's with you. She's taking you now to court for child support. You haven't paid child support in a while.
I'm not working at all, so therefore, certain people have told me that I don't have to pay child support if I don't have it. I'm only collecting disability.
What is the nature of your disability?
Right now,
You can't even say it with a straight face. Try saying it with a straight face, how you're disabled. Try telling me how somebody who's how tall? 6 foot tall?
6 foot tall. I'm a
Standing
donor
in front of me.
patient, ma'am.
What?
I'm a donor patient for my brother who has a kidney disease, so I have high blood pressure. So right now, I'm basically just relaxing, trying to keep my blood pressure down.
Everybody who has high blood pressure stops working. Half the country would be unemployed.
But this, I can't give a kidney if I have high blood pressure.
How long have you been preparing yourself to be a donor?
I've been preparing myself for the past month and a half.
And how long have you been unemployed?
Since April, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to say after June.
Were you paying any child support before
The
June?
last time I made child support payment was $300, $360 for whatever reason they needed.
When?
June of 2000.
Somebody's got such high blood pressure shouldn't strain themselves and have all these children.
Oh, it ain't about the children, ma'am. It's about the people around me. If it
Children
wasn't for her
create... Listen to
daughter
me.
and
No,
her,
no.
I'll be all
Mr.
right.
Hart, making babies makes your heart go faster, right?
Yeah.
It does.
Maybe you should stop straining yourself. Mr. Hart, look, you were making payments to Miss Murphy over a long period of time.
I was helping her out due to the fact she helped me out.
Just a second. Sir. You were making payments to her in the amount of $100 a month.
No.
You're in between a rock and a hard place, sir. If you say you weren't making payments to her, you're not going to get credit for any of those payments.
Well, I would say it wasn't a month. I was giving her whatever I had due to the fact she helped me out when I had my son.
I mean, she's lying about that?
Oh, it's a lot of things she was lying about.
Yes, I'll hear you.
I have no reason to stand up here and lie. I have a detailed journal of everything, all the accounting on this.
Let me see. Let me take
The
a look
tape,
at it. Just a second.
I extracted this information from the tape. But more importantly, my daughter owes me money, and I have the same tape on her.
Your Honor, she failed to realize to tell what the $2,700 she gave me for, the circumstances why the $2,700 was given.
Tell me about it.
I didn't ask for the $2,700. I picked my son up from school one day, and he had a lot of bruises on his buttocks and his legs. And I didn't know what to do. So therefore, I took him over to Miss Murphy, and she told me, well, this is what you need to do.
Would you please just explain to me what the $2,700
It was for the
for?
attorney fees.
Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. He has conjured up lies and had other people call my daughter's house, leaving threatening messages, and have alluded to me giving him money. When I lent him the money, I had no idea what it was for. I didn't ask. My concern is that you pay it back to me.
Your Honor, why was the attorney fees $2,700? Why did she exactly give me $2,700?
Let me see the bill for $2,700 from the attorney.
I don't have everything, but this is...
I just tell you, I don't
Here you
need
go, right
everything.
here.
The base,
The most
most
of the
of this money that
Okay.
she claims that you owe is, according to you, the attorney's fees.
Yes, ma'am.
This says balance as of 10/13, $1,034.
Let me find this other letter, ma'am, so I can show you that they gave me actually back, after the case is over, they gave me $700 back, but I don't have that form with me at this time.
I want to see where the original bill was for $2,700, the retainer.
No, they asked for a retaining fee of $2,700.
Show me.
Okay, ma'am, okay, relax. I don't have that at this time, Your Honor. I had a letter showing that this is what they gave me back. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry.
At the time that this happened back in 1997, you saw bruises on the child's body. I
Yes, ma'am.
assume that you were infuriated. Is that right?
I made a police report. A DCFS came out of the house, did an investigation on me. They also did investigation on the school.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
You needed money for an attorney. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't have the money right then and there to
I
give
didn't
to
have
the
all
lawyer.
of it, no, ma'am.
Good. And there is nothing that you can show me where you paid this lawyer a retainer of $2,700.
Not at this time. You can see
Right,
that
because
list
all
right
this
there.
other stuff he gave me says nothing about $2,700.
Well, if I had it, I would sure give it to you.
Because what it shows is that there are different amounts that you've paid off different amounts at different times, not $2,700 at one fell swoop.
Actually, it should, I wish I had.
Actually.
I don't have that. No.
Of course you don't have it because, sir, let me explain something
Because
to
I
you.
wasn't prepared to bring that information in court, sir. But
Well,
if we,
Mr. Hart, I don't know why you weren't prepared to do that, sir, because that is your answer, that you used this $2,700 for an attorney. So it would seem to me, with all the other paperwork that you brought, you would have brought that one document showing you took the $2,700 from the plaintiff and you paid the attorney with it. That's the one document that I would have.
Yeah, that's one document I wish I had.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,538. And let me tell you what I'm taking off.
Okay.
Taking off the $100 you were foolish enough to give him to gamble. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excused. You may step out.
Stabbed me in the back like she stabbed her daughter in the
And
back.
it wasn't even about the money, that he didn't owe her any money. It was about me having harassment suit from her daughter and her so that he would not be able to see his son.
Justice prevailed. It just isn't paid a lot.
And now,
Throwing rocks, I just walk away.
the next case.
All parties in the matter of Garrison versus DeTrolio, step forward, please.
25-year-old fraud specialist Katrina Garrison is suing her former friend, 29-year-old import coordinator Stacy DiTrolio, for her portion of a security deposit. Stacy says she's already paid.
This case deals with a loan that the defendant needed for an apartment rent deposit. Is that right?
Correct.
And you two ladies were friends.
Yes.
You were moving?
Yes. I moved in with a roommate.
You moved in with someone?
Yes.
Who already had the apartment?
No, we both moved in together. It was a
Okay.
house.
And what was the rent on this house?
It was $1,500 first, last, and deposit.
So tell me when you approached the plaintiff about the $1,500 loan.
It was around August, and I believe that
Beginning, middle?
beginning
Did you approach her by phone or in person?
person,
Was it at her house?
our house.
You were living together at the time?
No, my house. We'd already moved in, and we had already paid the first and deposit. We needed the
Okay.
last.
Had she come over to visit?
Yes.
Who was present?
Me, Amy, and Katrina.
Who's Amy?
Witness.
She wasn't your roommate.
No.
All right, so
We were
you
all
came
friends.
over with your witness, and the three of you had a discussion. You told her that you needed $1,500.
Yes.
Tell me in your own words what you said.
I actually approached Amy because Amy and I were very good friends, and she said that Katrina probably would help us out. I never really asked right up front. It was just kind of like, well, Katrina probably will, and I mean, I wasn't looking to borrow money from Katrina, but
You did.
But
So
I
you
did.
had to have said something to her.
Yes.
Come on.
That we needed help with the last month's rent.
And what did she say to you?
She said, okay.
When did, after that conversation, did she give you the money?
A couple days,
Did she give it to you in check or cash?
a check.
And you have the check.
I don't have the check. I didn't have time for them to get it from the bank.
You have your bank statement?
I don't have the bank statement either.
Why not?
She said she don't borrow the money. There's no question about that, whether she borrowed the money.
Just a minute. There's always a question to me. You're supposed to come to court with evidence. Evidence would be a check, canceled check that you gave her.
I have emails that state that she borrowed the money from me.
Okay. How much did you pay her back?
$700.
Check or cash?
Cash.
How much did you pay her back?
200
Check or cash?
check.
You have a copy of the check?
No.
You have a
But
copy of the check?
I don't have a copy of the check. I just deposited the check into the bank.
the first one was 200 in cash, and the rest was, or 200 with the check, and the rest was cash.
Why did you give her cash after
Because she didn't want a check, she wanted cash. And we were friends,
that?
so
Why didn't she want a check? Had she had trouble with your check before?
probably.
She gave me the check on October 23rd, and I was not able to cash the check until December 29th. And I went in on every single payday. She works with her at the same company, So I know what her paydays were and everything. So
I wish
walk
I would have had a
into-
copy of that check.
I
because
walked
that's not
into the
true.
bank every morning on the 1st and the 15th of the month to cash a check, and the funds were not available.
My paydays were the 7th and the 22nd, Your Honor.
What difference does it make?
Well, that's not the truth. So.
Well, Ms. Petrolio, common sense would suggest that if you had given her a check once and she had absolutely no trouble cashing it, then she wouldn't have insisted on cash for the remainder of the money that you claim you gave her, right?
Well, you can assume that, I
Right.
suppose. Yes.
Right. Well, that sounds like a logical assumption. That's what I would do. Somebody gave me a check and I was able to go put it in the bank. I would say, fine, give me a check for the rest of the money. Now, you have a rather interesting defense. Your defense is that you really paid her back.
My share.
Your share.
Yes.
You say you paid her back $700 in total?
No.
Shh, just wait a second. You said you gave her $700 in total. 7 and 7 is 14. You borrowed 15.
The $100 was a fee,
A what?
some kind of loan fee that my other roommate at the time was going to pay because I paid more of the rent part of it.
It doesn't make any difference.
Her other roommate-
Just a second. Your defense is that only half of this money is attributable to you. The other half is attributable to your roommate.
Exactly.
When did the plaintiff have a conversation with your roommate about the money? What does that mean?
Well,
What does that mean?
she knows because we had the discussion about Christy paying half.
To you,
Yes. To me.
not to
We both-
her.
Right.
No.
Not to her.
I told her, too, that Christy was responsible for half of that.
No. She was responsible for half of that to you. You
begin
assumed
with.
that your roommate would pay half.
Yes.
Because that's your defense. Your defense is get it from my roommate.
She's got the wrong person. I paid my share, and she
Not to
knows
her.
that.
No, that's
Yeah.
what she knows. That goes into the operation of her mind. If she had a contract with two people, then you are absolutely right. The two people would be responsible for the return of this money. If, however, she had a contract with only one person, and she made that verbal agreement with one person, and that's you, then you are responsible for getting half of that money from your roommate, not her. You can't say, this loan was for both of us, I'm going to pay my share, you go and get the rest from my roommate. It's your job. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. You understand?
I understand perfectly.
Perfect. Now, what I don't understand, Ms. Garrison, is you acknowledge, if I believe what you say, that you only received $200 from the defendant.
Correct.
You talk about these emails about a paper that she signed. Where is it?
I moved, and I have been able to find it. It was a promissory note that she signed by herself. Amy,
That's
my
not
witness,
true.
That is true. My
That is
witness
not
was
true.
Doesn't
there
make any difference.
when she signed it as well.
I'm just
a big
curious
difference.
as to why you didn't bring it if it's in here.
It's because it didn't prove her case.
Well, you should have a copy.
I
You
didn't
signed
get a
the
copy
note.
because she's my friend. Was my friend.
Just a second. You sign a note, you keep a copy.
Well, I guess I'm not that smart.
Oh, I'm not so sure. You borrow money, you don't pay it back. That makes you pretty smart. It says here that she gave you $600.
She wrote that. And
Oh, I understand that. But what I'm looking for is for your answer when you say, you never gave me $600, you only gave me $200.
It's because she can't.
It's in there. It is in there.
Show me. I
Okay.
want the response to her $600. Because first she says 7, then she says 6.
Your Honor, I also have an affidavit from my roommate that I live with now.
Not interested.
that proves.
Not interested
Oh, okay.
in your affidavit from a roommate.
I have a witness here that was present at the house when Katrina came over and I gave her money.
I have never seen him in my life.
She was not inside the house either.
Just a minute.
She was outside the house, which she didn't come in.
Just a minute.
Can't see what you don't if you don't come in the house, right? Sorry.
Basically, I mean, most of it in here it just says,
Listen to me. All I'm interested in is your response, which is, where do you get $600? Could you just point out where you say to her, you didn't give me $600? Is it in there?
it's right.
Where's that?
Well,
Where's
it's
that?
right here. This one's from Stacy, and then this is my response.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That one, and then that's the response.
Okay. Court finds the defendant owes you $1,300, that she has in fact paid you $200 by check, and that's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount $1,300. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Somebody annoying you this morning?
No, not really. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the count in the matter of Mark versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Marr, according to your complaint, you and the defendant met on the internet
That's correct.
and began a relationship that lasted a relatively short period of time. During that time, it is your claim that you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
That's
that
correct,
right?
Your Honor.
The relationship is over. You want your money. The defendant says that he made no promise to return anything that you gave him, that everything that you bought or gave him were just that, gifts, right?
Correct.
Give me the date when, after you met him on the internet, you met in person.
March 20th of 2000.
And how long did the relationship last?
Up through February 27th of this year.
When was the first loan that you made to him?
May of 2000.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that.
At that time, he would tell me how stressed he was and he needed money for bills, about $500. And he wanted it in cash, and I did that for him.
Where were you when the conversation took place?
On the phone, late at night.
He said, you said,
He was just said he was behind in bills. He didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he was very stressed. And when he gets stressed, Your Honor, he gets chest pains. And
so you said what?
I said, I'll be happy to loan you the money till you can get on your feet. And it was definitely a loan.
You didn't say to him, it's definitely a loan. I just want you to tell me what you said to him.
I said, how much would it take to catch you up in your bills?
That sounds right. That sounds like something you might say to him. How much will it take? And he said, $500? Mm-hmm. Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You say he told you it would be about $500. Mm-hmm. And what did you say?
I said, I'll be happy to get you on your feet.
Okay. That sounds better. Not probably quite accurate. I'll be happy to help you. Or that wouldn't be a problem. I can help you with that. Is that what you said to him?
I will help you out until you can get on your feet. He was unemployed at the time.
Okay, so you said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Which he never did, in my opinion.
Right?
Pardon me?
You said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet. Is that a loan?
Yes.
Yes, that's a loan. Perhaps, if he ever gets on his feet.
Well, he says he's broke. But I
Then
know
he's
different.
not on his feet.
Well,
he
is employed now.
Not on his feet.
That's a matter of opinion.
I understand that. That's not smart of you. All right. So when was the next time you claimed you gave him money?
Would you like to see?
I don't want to see.
Okay.
Listen
I
to
mean,
me.
there was tons of times, and the reason I just kept doing it is because he would tell me he had a terminal illness, he had a year to live. He faked heart attacks, and he would threaten to rob a convenience store, and I would panic and think, you can't do that. That's immoral. That's against the law. What can I do so you're not so stressed? He had heart attacks. That is how my husband died. I was just totally worked up.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have proof.
Just a second.
My son here, he has witnessed these things that I have said.
I want you to calm down
Okay.
and calmly tell me the next time you gave him cash, when was it?
It was in October. He had just moved to a different city.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him. He moved?
I had spent a few days prior to that, and he never brought it up. The minute I get home from the weekend, he says how stressed he is, he's having chest pain, and that he's behind on some bills, and he needed to get them paid. There was utilities, the water was going to be shut off, his cell phone was going to be shut off, no phone, he wouldn't be able to come and call me. So
What did you say?
I
I'll help
said,
you.
what do you need? Why didn't you tell me when I was there?
Okay, and what did he say he needed?
About $600.
You have proof?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me look at my list here.
The first money in May of 2000, you gave him cash.
That's correct, Your Honor. I have proof that it came out of my savings and cashier's check, that it went directly to him.
Now, I want to know the next cash item that you gave to him.
It was always something, prescriptions.
No, cash.
I made cash deposits right into his checking account. And I have 3 times I did that in July and August. It was right after his back surgery. He couldn't work. He gave me the same old sob story. And I have all that proof right here, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
And that totaled $1,400 in 3 deposits.
I'd like to see proof of that.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right, when was the next cash that you gave to him?
At the end of the year, $400. I have the withdrawals, and I gave him the cash.
That doesn't prove anything. You just withdrew $400, but it doesn't show that it was transferred into his checking account. Is that right?
He didn't have a checking account in town.
Yes, I did.
I gave it
Whatever.
right to him because he came down to see me, and the only way he could come down to see me is if he rented a car, and so that's why I gave him $400.
All right.
He would constantly give me these stories that I would...
Miss Marr, if you're constantly giving you stories, then you say to him, after the second time he gives you a story, you say to him, adios, goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hattie Marr claims ex-boyfriend James Brown conned her out of money by playing on her sympathy. Hattie says he faked a heart condition and a life-threatening illness.
Your story is, and I read your complaint, that your husband had died of heart attack, that you met him, that you were very vulnerable, that he appeared very, very nice person, that he...
But he manipulated me.
Well, you're a grown-up lady.
But I was grieving at the time.
You're a grown-up lady.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so he took advantage of you.
Yes, by faking heart attacks, by threatening to commit suicide. I would be on the phone for hours.
Well, that would have saved you a couple of bucks if he committed suicide. You know, there comes a point when you say, listen, you got to do what you got to do.
But I cared for him. I loved him.
What?
I cared for him, and I loved him, and I believed, and I trusted everything he told me. He had me going all the time.
I got the picture. This is not a hard picture. This is a picture that I see time and time again. I have some money that she can establish she gave to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not talking about buying you a new tire or buying you prescriptions or paying for your cell phone bill. I'm talking about cash money.
Yes, Your Honor. This is my current...
I don't care about your current. I care about the then.
But Patty had made statements that she wanted to talk to her, and she
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
I run the show. And if you have a heart attack here, we'll make sure, very, very sure, sir, that you get out the door so you don't interfere with the rest of my calendar. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
She gave you cash. She wrote you checks. She deposited cash in your account. Is that true? Is
Yeah.
this proof here that I have accurate?
Yes, it is, but
Perfect.
there is...
No.
No,
No.
Your Honor.
I'll ask the next question. Did you repay her in cash for any of this money? $500, $600, and $1,400. Did you repay her for any of that?
If she wanted me to come down and see her, why would I repay her when she wanted me to come down and see her?
The
That's why
answer
she
is
was
either
telling me.
yes or no.
No, I told her there was never no talk about repaying her.
I'm asking you a question. Did you pay her back this money?
No.
You acknowledge that she gave you the money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Now, are you currently under the care of a cardiologist?
No, Your Honor.
Did you at any time indicate to the plaintiff that you had a heart condition?
I do have a heart
The answer
problem.
is either yes or no.
Yes.
You did. And did you at any time tell the plaintiff that you were stressed financially?
Yeah, I was stressed financially, yes.
And after you told her that you were stressed financially, she gave you some money.
Yeah, she said, I'll help you out, here's a gift, you know. And I said, I can't afford to repay you. She knew I could not afford to repay her.
Why can't you afford to repay her?
I was unemployed, Your Honor, raising...
Why were you unemployed?
Because I had had back surgery and
A lot of
stomach
people
surgery.
have back surgery. When did you have back surgery?
June of last year.
Where had you been working before that time, sir?
I was working part-time at Walmart.
Part-time at Walmart? How old are you?
37.
Why were you working part-time at Walmart? What's wrong with you?
I had 2 stomach surgeries.
2 stomach surgeries for what?
Stomach, what was polyps, cancer.
You know, I got that. When was the last time you held a full-time job?
2 years ago. Well, actually, last year. Year before, it was 99.
Con artist. Are you the current girlfriend? Step up here. When did you meet Sir Lancelot?
Met him in February.
You met him in February?
2001.
Can't be without a meal check. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an internet customer service for Northwest Airlines.
How much do you earn annually?
I don't know, probably 25,000.
And what's Prince Charming doing?
He's working full-time.
Mm-hmm.
He
Where?
has been since I've known him.
Where?
He was at Minn Kota, and now he's at, they make trusts.
So he has a nice job?
Yes.
Good. He makes good money?
Yes.
Perfect. You owe $2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had spoke with Patty on the phone, and she basically said if she gave him more money, he would come back, and she was addicted to
He
it.
faked 2 heart attacks in my home with my son present.
And now the
Yeah, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Roy versus Zamias. Party, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Roy, according to your complaint, you rented a room in defendant's home.
Yes,
When did you rent the room?
from January until May.
And what was your monthly rent?
$500.
According to your complaint, there came a time sometime in, was it May, that you had an argument?
Early June.
So you stayed there till June.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was to
You
stay.
stayed there till June.
Mm-hmm.
You had an argument over Tupperware.
Yes.
As a result of that argument, you say you were assaulted, given an eviction notice, forced to move. You want the defendant to pay you for the assault, pro rata for the rent, because you had already paid June's rent, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Your moving expenses, told you wanted to pay $1,543. So let's take it from. When in June did you have this argument?
June 6th.
Tell me about the argument.
Well, the morning of June 6th, I woke up, and I had been looking for my Tupperware throughout that week. And
What Tupperware?
This Tupperware right here.
Those 2 pieces?
Yes. So throughout the week and in the morning before work and everything, that's when I had time to ask her. So on June 6th, I knocked on her door, and she said, come on in. And I said, hey, Nicole, have you seen my Tupperware? And she said, no, and went on into, Karina, I need to stop condensing your food down into smaller containers in the refrigerator. And this was the 3rd time that I had asked her for my Tupperware, and she was changing the subject when 2 other times I wasn't getting direct answers, and where she was directing me, they weren't there. Like the first time I asked her.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
Just get to the
So
point.
I said, look, if I don't get my Tupperware back, I'll just take it off my rent. And she said, well, don't you dare. And she threw her blankets off her, which every morning.
Just a second. Are you telling me you went into her bedroom?
Yes.
To ask? Let me finish my question. You went into her bedroom to ask for those 2 pieces of Tupperware?
Yes, for the
And
third-
she was in bed?
Yes.
Go ahead. So she threw her blankets off.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
But, every other morning.
Just answer the question. Tell me, she threw her blankets off and said what?
Don't you dare, and she threw her blankets off, and she ran to the door and slammed it open. She said, I ate it! And she stormed into the kitchen. And I followed her, and she opened her Tupperware cupboard and forced all of her Tupperware on me like that.
Let me explain something to you. Don't get dramatic with me. Okay, go ahead. So she...
And threw all of her Tupperware on me.
She didn't throw all of her Tupperware on you.
Yes, she did. Yes,
How did she
did.
Miss Roy, you're standing there, so was what you're telling me she took out each piece of Tupperware from the cupboard and threw it at you?
No, she has a Tupperware cupboard, and she put her arm on one end of that Tupperware cupboard, and with all of her force, threw it on me, and I was standing behind her, and it landed on me.
Is that the assault you're talking about?
No, and there was one
No,
other.
no. Is that the assault that you're talking about?
That's one of them, yes.
And when was the other one?
Then she kept standing there and screaming, how dare you, and don't you dare, don't you even dare, Karina, shame on you, shame on you.
Listen to me.
Like this.
I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, this is what she was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
And I said, Nicole, you said you were going to take care of my Tupperware, and and on Sunday your maid came, and I haven't seen him since. And she said, there's your answer, Karina. Look in that cupboard there. Look in that one. And I go over there, and I open it up, and it's kind of on the ground, so I kneel down, and there's my Tupperware, and I grab it. And when I'm down, she's leaning her whole body into me, pointing her finger in my face. How dare you? Don't you even dare. Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here. And she hit my head with her finger. She had all of her weight on me.
Next. So what happened next?
So then I got up, and I'm just like backing away. I'm like backing away. I'm walking out of the kitchen, you know, and she threw her hand up. Damn you, you know, how can you do this? And that's it, Karina, I want you out of here in 30 days. And I'm standing there, and we're standing in front of Anna now, okay? And I said, good. And Anna stood up and said, hey, and looking directly at me, and said, hey, hey, the babies, as she's looking at me. And I had not said anything through this whole entire time.
What is she saying?
The babies. The babies.
Hey! Quiet. What happened next?
Well,
you went to work.
As Anna was
You
saying,
went to work?
Yeah, I went to work.
And what happened when you came home from work?
There was a letter in my room.
And what did the letter say?
It said, because of your histrionics and verbal assault this morning, Anna and I agreed that for the sake of the daycare children, you are to leave the premises as soon as possible. I am hereby giving you a 14-day notice.
Okay. You don't deny writing that note?
No.
No, good. Okay. Where did you come to a 14-day notice?
In my contract, Your Honor, I have it's a month-to-month lease.
Yes, so there's usually a 30-day notice.
Right. And because of the daycare, should there be any behavioral or safety issue, I exercise the right to use the 14-day. And also the tenant.
Is there a notice in your agreement giving you the right for a 14-day notice?
Yes.
Let me see it.
Yes, it's right here. And,
can I see it, please?
Yes.
Good.
There's also a 48-hour, but that's for something more serious like underage drinking.
Let me just see.
In my home.
Okay. With at least 14 days' notice given and acknowledged in writing by both parties. Okay, so you gave her a 14-day notice.
My assistant and I decided.
Shh.
Okay.
So that's on the 6th?
Mm-hmm.
When did you move out?
Moved out on the 9th.
30 days hath September, April, June, and November. So what we're talking about is 21 days. Is that right?
No, so I had paid June's rent on May 21st to stay till June 21st.
Oh, okay. So that means that you're only entitled to 12 days.
Yes.
You have a problem with giving her her prorated rent?
I do, Your Honor, because I gave her the 14-day notice.
She moved out before.
And she had announced to me that she would be moving out the following Saturday, which was in a couple of days. And my exact words were, Karina, you're free to move whenever you want, but the room is yours until the 21st.
That's just because you say so.
And
listen to me. Just because you say so doesn't mean that that's so. You gave her a 14-day notice.
Right.
Because you say there was some egregious reason why you gave her short notice. If
Yeah.
she decides not to stay there until that time, that's her prerogative. You have to give her her prorated rent back.
But, Your Honor, the problem is, although she physically moved out, her property was still in the room.
All of her?
Absolutely. No, not all of her property.
What?
The day after she moved, she said she
What
needed
was in-
to bring her answer machine in because her phone...
What was in her
Well,
room?
there was a lamp, a pole lamp, and then her ashtray, and she said Saturday night when she moved out, I'm really tired, my ashtray is in there, I didn't even wash it, I'll get back to it later. And I did not even go into the room to clean or anything. When I did go after the 20th, when she got her security deposit back, then I went in there, and these two items were in the closet still.
Is that are those
And
the items?
the lamp that she had said when she was moving, she said, you can either give this away or throw it away.
Then you should have done that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karina Roy says former landlord Nicole Zimius assaulted her with Tupperware.
Okay. What items do you think suggest that she still occupied the room? The teddy bear and the cup?
Well,
listen to me. Speak.
The lamp.
The lamp she told you to get rid of.
The ashtray and these two things. With the kind of ups and downs that we've had in her stay, I was not about to even go into the room, and I didn't.
That's fine. That's your prerogative. You did, you didn't. I don't care whether you did or whether you didn't. Clearly, you gave her a notice because you didn't want her around. You felt as if you wanted to give her 2 weeks to get out. That's fine. I find that she elected to move out before. I believe she's entitled to do that. She doesn't want to be there if you don't want her there. She moved out. She gets her portion of the rent back that she paid, because I don't consider that, a cup and her teddy bear, leaving property in the house so that you couldn't rent the room again if you wanted to. All right. Now next, you want her to pay your moving expenses. Is that right?
Yes.
Wrong. So we've just dealt with that. You don't get your moving expenses. Now, damages due to the assault. I'm prepared to hear you if you want to tell me what your damages were as a result of the assault.
because of this, I mean, the way I physically felt, okay, was just like somebody just ripped my, I mean, I just felt hollow in here. I mean, I did not feel stable at all. My driving
You're not
has
stable. Anybody that walks into a bedroom, somebody sleeping in their bed, to ask for 2 pieces of Tupperware and start an argument with them while they're in bed over 2 pieces of Tupperware isn't too stable.
Okay.
To start with.
Well, because
$500 divided by 30 equals $16.66. Clear that?
Yeah, just multiply.
What?
Just multiply.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Wait a second. I'm learning how to use this machine.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you.
Just a minute. Times 12 equals $199.92. That you are entitled to. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $199.92. Thank you. You want to give her back a bear?
Certainly.
Perfect. Bird, would you take care of the bear in the cup?
Sure. Parties are excused. You may step out.
She fought with all the tenants. She fought with me. She fought with my 2 sons who don't even live there anymore.
Absolutely not. I'm such a meek, shy person. I bowed down to them and I stayed out of their way.
Yeah, this is case number 199 on the calendar in the matter of Malenfant versus Brooks. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Malenfant, you are Miss Malenfant. Who are you?
Miss Malenfant.
She's my mom.
Mother. Why don't you have a seat? How old are you?
17.
The defendant is your father.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you needed a car. And your father agreed to help you out with getting a car. He put down the down payment on the car with the understanding that you would make the monthly payments and keep up with the insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I assume from your complaint that you followed through with your end.
Yes, I did.
And there came a point when he took back the car.
Yes.
When did he take back the car?
He repossessed the car on June 23rd, 2001.
And you say he had no basis to repossess the car, and you want all the monthly payments that you paid to a bank, I assume.
It was, yes, Home Financial Services.
For the time that you had the car?
Yes.
And that was
$1,440.
So you had the car. Did you have the car in October?
Yes.
October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June.
Yes.
You had the car really 9 months.
Yes.
Your father says you did not follow through with your responsibility. As a matter of fact, you owe him a substantial amount for the car. So, tell me what your arrangement was with your father.
On October 12th, we went in there. We both decided that I would agree to be responsible for the vehicle. He paid the $500 down payment. We also purchased insurance, and he paid $500 to the person who rebuilt the engine. While the car was in the shop, he did pay 1 car payment, and we both agree on that. He paid the $500 down payment and one car payment for.
Why did he make the car payment?
Because at the time, I was unaware that he even made the car payment.
Well, you didn't make the car payment.
No. I was trying to work, and he had let me use his vehicle while mine was in the shop. I have a daughter, and I didn't exactly have all the money to pay for it. Because
so you didn't have the money, so he made the car payment in February?
Yes.
And what was the monthly payment?
It was $180 a month, but he only paid $170 that month.
Okay. Go ahead.
On May 1st, 2001, me and his wife had got into an argument. Words were exchanged. I said a couple of things, she said a couple of things, and then we started fighting. She headbutted me in the nose and broke my nose, and she hit me in the back of the neck with a picture frame. I moved out because they were on drugs very badly, and I couldn't take it anymore, and I didn't want my daughter to be around it, and I myself did not want to be around it. Me and him were still on good terms. We talked daily, and then probably 2 weeks after that, on May 16th, I got a message from him on my cell phone. I didn't answer the phone, but I listened to the message, and I didn't agree with the message at all. I have that recorded if you want to hear it.
I just want to know what the message said.
He said, if I leave her, what am I going to do about a woman? Are you going to help me out? Are you going to give me some?
That's not true, Your Honor.
I have the message if you want to hear it.
I don't have to listen to it. Go ahead.
I called the Department of Human Resources and spoke to someone named...
Where were you living at this time?
I was living with my mom. I guess he was mad because I called DHR on him about that, and he took the car from me.
Okay. Had you paid May's payment for the car?
Yes.
Okay, you have proof that you made...
I have proof of all the payments, yes.
Okay, what about the insurance? Was that all part of the 180?
Uh-huh. And I also have a check, a copy of the check that Virgil wrote to the man who rebuilt the engine, stating that he did pay for that.
I don't have all the receipts. I mean, I didn't expect for this
All
to
the
happen.
receipts for what?
For the car payments that I made. I have probably 4 of them, but I didn't keep them all. I didn't expect to be here in this situation right now.
So you only have proof of making 4 payments?
Virgil gave me that paper. He highlighted all the payments that I made, and he signed at the bottom of it.
Well, I see here there was 1 month when you made a payment of $90, and then you made a payment of $80.
That was, I would pay early sometimes because I would have the money at that time, and I decided to pay early sometimes.
No, you weren't paying early.
What day was that?
May 11th.
May 11th, I made a late payment, and they allowed me to make, they gave me 5 days of grace, I believe.
No. Instead of making a full car payment in May, you made a partial payment May 11th of $90.
Yes.
Then you made another payment on May 18th of $80.
Yes.
Okay, you say the payments are $180 a month, so 9 and 8 is 17, so that's $170. So you were $10 short.
Okay.
Okay. Then you don't make any payment in June, the beginning of June at all. You make a payment June 22nd in the amount of $80.
Yes.
That's not responsible. Ms. Malafont, I'm going to tell you why you have no basis for a lawsuit against your father. You have no basis for a lawsuit because you had this car for 9 months.
Yes.
And you say you made $1,440 worth of payments. That means that you paid $160 on average a month.
Okay.
You had the full use of a car for $160 a month for a period of 9 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Understand?
Yes.
You can't rent a car for $160 a month.
I understand that
Good.
the car was in, that I should be responsible for the months that I have paid for the car, but I don't think that he had a good reason for repossessing it from me.
Well, I'm going to let him tell me, but you did not keep up your end of the bargain. If he co-signed for this for you, and you are a minor, which means they can't go after you at all.
Yes.
You can't make a contract with a minor. That has to do with your lawsuit, too, sir. You did not fulfill even your moral end of the obligation because you did not make these payments on time, as you're supposed to a finance company. They don't want to, at the end of the month, when your payment is due in the beginning of the month, get a partial payment. And you didn't do that once, you did it more than once.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Tina Malenfant says her father, Walter Brooks, illegally repossessed her car.
Did you receive a call from the company in June?
I received a call that they did not have any indication of her having any liability insurance. Now, she only had collision. That's what was financed. But the state law, as of July 2006, you had to have liability insurance. She never carried it. I always carried it. And she had an accident.
Had you discussed that with her?
I had discussed it with her before she moved out, that she needed to cover her insurance, that I wasn't going to cover it anymore. And she ignored it.
No, Your Honor, he didn't. He had canceled my insurance a long time before I moved out, and he never even notified me. And when the car, he had canceled it when the car was in the shop, actually. And when he told me about the car payment that he made when the car was in the shop, he said, and I'm not paying for your insurance anymore either. And I said, well, that's fine. I'll get my own insurance. And he said.
Did you ever do that?
I was going to. But
No, not going to. Did you ever do that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So he did have a discussion with you and told you back in February, it's your car,
Yes.
it's your responsibility, get the insurance.
Yes.
And you didn't do it. And you didn't make the February payment, and you only made a partial payment in June. So he had every right to take the car back and say, listen, I can't risk my own financial situation, put my own financial situation at risk because she's not doing the right thing.
Yes.
So you had every right to take back your car. So you have no case. Now, you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for the down payment that you put on the car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to get through it. For the down payment that you put on the car, for the cost of repairing the engine, right?
Yes, ma'am.
For the payments that you made for her to bring the credit up to what it should be.
Correct.
You can't make a contract with a minor. Didn't anybody ever tell you that, even a minor who's your daughter?
Okay.
Who told you that?
Nobody.
But you know that.
Right.
And you didn't make this agreement with her mother
No.
on her behalf.
No.
Where's the car now?
It's just, I have it in my possession. It's at my house.
Are you using it?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't have insurance on it. I'm just using my truck.
Why don't you sell it?
I plan to. I just was waiting until this is over beforehand.
Fine, I suggest you sell it.
Okay.
Good. Counterclaim is dismissed. You used the car for 9 months?
Yes.
You had full service of the car for 9 months, with the exception of the time that you blew an engine on the car and it was in...
The engine was already, it wasn't...
October, November, December, January. You drove the car for 4 months before You had to bring it into the shop, is that
The
right?
radiator was cracked in it when we got it back too.
You drove the car for 4
Yes,
months
yes.
before you had a problem. Now, on another note, do you speak to each other?
Me and her?
No, not her. Him.
No.
You don't speak to your father?
No. I have a, they were to issue a protective order against him if he contacted me anymore.
Well, that's too bad. How long had you lived with your father?
Almost a year.
And prior to that, you lived with your mother?
Yes.
Why did you move out of your mother's house?
There wasn't enough room. I have a daughter, like I said, and there
How old
wasn't
is your
enough.
daughter?
She's 1. There wasn't enough room for both of us to stay there, and it was very crowded.
Okay. I can't get into the basis of the protective order. It's really beyond this, so I can't make a judgment with regard to whether or not it's a good idea for you to speak to your father, not a good idea for you to speak to your father. Only the two of you know that. In any event, you had a good time with this car. You used it. I assume you used it for work, whatever. Next time you get financing for a car, it's not going to be through your dad. Are you 18?
No,
when are you
not
going to be
yet.
18?
I'll be 18 in March.
Okay. How are you getting around now?
My mom takes me.
That's
where I
good.
need to go.
Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't get the money that I really do deserve.
I guess it's a lesson that we both learned.
They're both very sick people, and something needs to be done about them.
Don't go buy the used cars for your kids.
I just don't plan on talking to them anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties on Turner versus Turner. Step forward, please.
40-year-old marketing director Carmela Turner is suing her ex-husband, 40-year-old personal trainer Daryl Turner, for pawning her karaoke speakers.
Miss Turner, were you ever married to the defendant?
I was married at one point to this defendant.
When?
We were married October 2nd, 1994.
And divorced when?
June 28th of this year.
But you've been together for a longer period of time than that, is that right?
Yes, we have.
Since when?
Since 1991.
Do you have any children?
Yes, we do. We have one son, Andre, and one son, Daryl Turner, the second.
Either one of these children?
Daryl. Little.
Little one?
Yes.
Who are these two children?
These are two of my boys from a previous marriage.
Okay. Is there any reason that these boys have to be here?
Michael actually was our sound person that...
I don't need information about that. That has nothing to do with this case.
Okay.
Why don't you boys go outside, please? They can find their way, Bird.
Okay.
I don't see why children have to be involved with this. Okay. Not a very difficult case. Mr. Turner, according to your former wife's complaint, she was given by the state some sound equipment in order to help her build up some sort of a business. And that business was the karaoke business, and you would do shows and events and things. Is that right?
That's right.
You worked in it together.
That's right.
The speakers were part of the equipment that was given to you.
Yes.
Because you have some sort of a disability?
Right.
And according to you, you also contributed to the business. The kids were involved, and you did some events over a period of how many years?
3.
And then there came a time, Mr. Turner, that according to you, you needed some money.
We needed money.
According to you, you needed some money, which is what you say in your answer.
Okay.
And so you pawned 4 of the speakers.
Correct.
When did you do that?
Right before May.
Of this year?
Of this year.
Right before your divorce?
Well, right around then. Shortly before then.
Well, were you living together at the time you were going through a divorce?
Yeah, well, the divorce came prior to some things that was going on that led up to the divorce.
Well, usually people don't get divorced in 1 month. So were you actually living in the house?
Yes.
And within a month, a divorce became final? What are you shaking your head? He's not making sense to me.
Me either.
Okay. Were you living together in May of 2000 when he pawned these 4 speakers?
Okay, he pawned the speakers in February. He did not pawn them in May, he pawned them in February.
Does that sound?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And when did he move out of the house?
He started preparing to move out right around May 1st, and he moved out, actually physically out, May 23rd.
Now, did you agree that he should pawn these speakers in February?
No, I didn't, not initially.
What do you mean not initially?
The pawning was done prior to me coming home. Now, after he did tell me about it and told me why he did it, and he told me that he would get the speakers back before our next show.
Does that sound right?
Some of it.
No, does that sound right? That you went and you pawned the speakers, and then you told her that you had pawned the speakers, but that you would get them back before the next show?
Some of it.
Oh, tell me what's not right.
I pawned them without her knowledge because we had an upcoming event. The event we were going to be performing at had their own equipment. We needed some new material. That's the reason why I did it, so we can get the material that we needed for that event. I did inform her of it as soon as she got home.
Okay. How much did you get for the speakers?
Oh, I think about $400.
You have the ticket?
No, I don't.
You never got the speakers back?
No, I didn't.
Why?
We separated, and I wanted 2 of the speakers. She refused to give me 2 of the speakers, so I didn't feel that I needed to get them out of the pawn shop. So I didn't want her to have all of them, so I left them there.
Well, you can't do that, Mr. Turner.
Well, there's a reason why I did it.
I'm listening to your reason.
The reason why I did it is when I left the city I was in to go to resign in another city, as soon as I got there, the sheriffs were waiting for me, which she had called. They threw me up against the fence, handcuffed me. My little 4-year-old was with me. He was crying hysterically. Then they had to take him back halfway to Bakersfield by himself. This is about 10:30 at night. By himself. Then I was humiliated in the local newspaper as being a child abductor. All this stuff went on. Now, she kept all the microphones, all the lights, everything to the show. Everything, all the furniture. All I wanted was just 2 of the monitors. So
But she had been given those, sir, by the state.
Well, we were married, and when you're married, usually there's what they call a common, I forget the term that was used.
Community property is what you're talking about.
Okay, right, exactly. Community property.
Community property, sir, contemplates that married people contribute the same, some with time, some with money, some with a combination of time and money and caregiving, etc. So community property means that each of you has contributed a certain amount to the physical things in a marriage, the televisions, the sofas, the table and the chairs, etc. When the state, through a vocational rehabilitation project, gives equipment to someone who is disabled in some way, that does not become community property. Ever. Do you understand?
I do
It would
now.
be, sir, listen to me, it would be like you saying to me, the state gave my wife a wheelchair. When I left, I took half of it because it's community property. The state gives her a wheelchair or a respirator to breathe on. That does not become community property. These speakers represent the same kind of thing because they were given to her. She did not pay for them. You did not pay for them. They were sort of a gift, an investment by the state to see if she could in some way earn a living. So you had no right to pawn the speakers. Period. End of discussion. But I don't know what you want. I don't know what it costs to replace the speakers. They use speakers. But what does it cost to replace them?
When they were purchased, they were brand new, and I did bring you receipts, and I also brought you the paperwork saying that they were, you know, for me to become a sole proprietor. What I did, they had to be replaced. We can't work without them. We'll get our microphones and the amplifiers if there are no speakers. I was able to go online, and I actually found them a little less expensive than what they paid for them. And they were new when they paid for them, and they're also new now. And here are the receipts for that.
Did you buy them, or did you?
I've ordered them.
You've ordered them?
Yes, and they've charged my credit card. And the proof is on there about the charging of the credit card.
Okay. So the total is $1,466?
Right.
And that's for
Can I say something?
2 speakers?
4, actually.
4 speakers.
2 monitors and 2 speakers. And on the front
Well,
of the
did he also take the monitors?
Yeah, it was 4 total. It was 2 speakers and 2 monitors. And on the front, it shows the pictures of them.
Yeah, what do you want to tell me, sir? Fast.
Now, the speakers were heard, but the microphones, the lights, the fog machines, we have more than just speakers. There's other equipment that I bought. She got that stuff still.
Just a minute. That's part of your divorce, sir.
But-
That's part of your divorce. If you purchased it with your money,
Shouldn't I be entitled to get it?
you should have asked for it in the divorce, sir.
I did.
And was it given to you?
No.
Well, then, what do I have to listen to it for? So what I'm telling you is, certain things are community property, certain things are individual property. These items that were given to her by the state are her single property. They were not given to you as a couple. In this case, if you decided to let that other equipment go in your divorce, that is your problem. This you cannot do. You cannot take property that is not yours and sell it, which is exactly what you did, and you have to pay for it. $1,466.29 is what it costs to replace it.
Your Honor.
What?
Okay, when he did do that back, you know, in February, there was a show coming up.
I heard that you put in a deposit and you couldn't do it. You
No,
should have
it wasn't
rented equipment. I don't want to hear anything
It wasn't
about
a
that.
deposit. I had to pay the whole thing. It's right here.
No. no. You're not paying attention. You paid the whole thing, and what I said was, then if you didn't have these speakers, you should have rented equipment for the day. Do you understand? He can't sell your individual property, which is what he did when he pawned it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,466.29. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yes. This is case number 259 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Allen. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Allen, the defendants are your son and daughter-in-law, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And is your claim that they owe you jointly a substantial amount of money, both from loans and from a cell phone bill that they managed to creep up to the thousands? Mr. Allen, you were in jail. When?
The first time for 4 years, and then just this past November till this year.
You served 4 years in state's prison?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
From 97 until September of last year, 2000.
September of 2000. What were you convicted of, sir?
Arson, 451C.
What did you burn down?
Condemned apartment complex.
Then you were arrested again?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
A parole violation.
What was the nature of the violation?
A threat to harass another and leaving the county without a pass.
Who did you harass?
A former employer, supposedly.
Is the complaint of your parents that when you got out of jail, I believe the first time in the year 2000, you needed some money, and they helped you with a series of loans. How much did you give your son when he got out of jail the first time in 2000?
About $1,400.
How do you have that broken down?
$65 in uniforms, $60 for gas, and what he told me was birth control pills, $150 cash for expenses. He told me they needed money for food. We gave him $100. And then he switched jobs after he got arrested the second time, and he needed $60 for steel-toed shoes this time. We gave them $450 for rent while they were still living in their old apartment, $15 for DMV fees that he conveniently didn't have the day he had to go to the DMV, $85 for gas, usually, $20 here, $40 here, $200 for carpet for their rental, and $150 cash for miscellaneous expenses. And when we were on vacation in July, he called us and said he needed $80 to make his car payment. So we gave him that.
Miss Allen, did you have a conversation with your son with regard to paying you back this money?
Several times. It was always going to be paid back on payday, when they could get it or when he got paid from a separate job that he was doing. Each time the money just disappeared.
Well, but you kept giving him money, Miss Allen.
Well, because every time I asked him for money, he hinted that I was taking food out of my grandchildren's mouths.
So despite the fact that he didn't pay you back any of this money, week after week, month after month, he would ask you for more, $15, $100, $85, and you would continue to give it to him.
He did pay back some money. He did. He gave my husband $100 at the mall one day, $40 here, $20 here, a total of $435. So
Well,
just enough to keep me doling it out, I guess.
So what's the total of what you say he owes you now, without the phone bill?
$1,415.
And did you keep records of that money at the time that you actually gave him the money, or did you recap in your head at some later time?
I wrote it down in my, I have an address book. I just wrote it down, how much I gave him, but I didn't write dates or anything. I just wrote it down so I could keep track. So when I said, hey, you owe me this much money, I would at least know how much.
Okay. Now tell me about the telephone bill.
He had some problems, and he said that his wife would feel a lot better if she had a way to get a hold of him, which, knowing his track record, that was a good idea. She needed a way to get a hold of him. So he asked me if I would get a cell phone in my name. I already had one, and my husband and I both have cell phones, and he said he would pay the monthly bill on that.
And did he do that?
He paid one bill of $144 because the phone got disconnected, and I just wasn't going to pay it anymore.
How much is still owed on his bill?
It totals $2,008.05. And to date on both the cell phone and the loan, he's only paid $435.
How hear you?
There's a lot to be told, Your Honor. We'll start with the loans, the miscellaneous loans. When I came home, my wife was working between 40 and 60 hours a week and making over $2,000 a month. We didn't borrow money from her when I first came home the first time. We had no need to borrow money from her. I had $200 gate money that, substantial amount of money for me to have to be home and find a job and get work. I remember her offering to pay for uniforms. I've never once, there's a lot of things in her list of loans that she said, you know, as for example, like, you know, for rent for the new house or carpet for the new house. You know, we moved out less than a mile from her house to where she could be closer to the grandkids. It was kind of like a helping thing. I had to get away from the place where I was, so she helped us out. It was her friends we rented the house from.
Is what you're saying, Mr. Allen, that you didn't take this money from your mother?
No, I didn't call her and say, Mom, I need money, please. You know, you're taking food out of my kid's mouth. I would never say that to her.
That's not what I asked you. What I asked you was, are you telling me that your mother is lying when she says that she gave you, over a period of time, $1,415 in small amounts for a variety of things? Shoes, uniforms, gas money, a month's rent, money for carpeting. Are you telling me that she's lying when she's telling me that?
I'm not saying she's lying about those things, but as for her to say that she loaned it to us and said, okay, you'll give it back to me, the agreement was, here you go. It wasn't, Mom, I need money, I'll give it back to you on Friday when I get paid. Mom,
Well, how
I'll
would
give you
she
money.
know that you needed money?
We would be talking. You see, my mom keeps everything
listen
close.
to me. How would she know that you needed money? How would she know, for instance, that you needed money for the DMV and that you didn't have it?
She was with me when we went to the DMV. She was with me. I went to go pull out money. My wife had the check. She said, oh, I'll take care of it. I was driving her around that day. Her car was in the shop. It was like gas money. I mean, this is how she works. She'll say, I'll take care of that, and then 5 days later when she's angry at you, she'll try to sue you for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roberta and Donald Allen say their son, Daniel Allen, owes for loans they made after he got out of jail. The Allens say Daniel served 4 years on an arson conviction.
Let's go to the phone bill.
We could talk about the phone bill.
We could.
The phone bill.
I think that right now is the appropriate time.
Back in November, me and my wife tried to set up a cell phone, and they wanted because we had a bankruptcy, they wanted a $1,000 deposit.
So she wasn't doing so well in her job.
No, we had a bankruptcy 3 years previously. It was just something, our credit was messed up. It had nothing to do with, you know, us not having money, but they wanted to deposit a high one. I was talking to my mom about a cell phone. My mom said, hey, I can get one on my account. It won't cost you guys anything. You just give me the $20 for the phone, $40 a month for 500 local, whatever the minutes were. It's like 2,000 minutes a month. We said, yeah, sure, let's do that. That'll help out great. I was incarcerated 3 weeks after we had the phone. I went back for the second time for the threat to harass. My wife, who was handling everything by herself and didn't have an extra income now that I was gone again, she called my mom and said, hey, you know, my mom would call and say, hey, the phone's due, and you can ask her. She said, hey, don't worry about it. I'll handle it until you guys get back on your feet, and that's exact words. I even called my mom from jail and said, hey, Mom, you know, I don't know what you want to do with the phone. You want to take it back? It'll cost me more
Where do
money
you
to
get
take the phone back.
$2,008 in telephone calls?
We've never seen a bill.
Can I see the bill?
These are the front pages to the bills, and I've given him several bills, which he subsequently tore up because he didn't want his wife to see what phone calls were on him. I have the complete...
No, I want the bills with what calls were made. The last bill I have here indicates $802.15, which is the total balance.
That's a $150 shut-off fee, $360-some dollars for the last
I'm just
bill.
saying, you say, listen to me, Miss Allen, you say he owes you $2,008 for the phone bill. The last bill that I have here is $802.15.
I've been paying the bill.
Are you telling me because you made some payments?
I made a lot of payments, yeah.
How many payments did you make on this phone bill?
We made one of $250 and one of $100, and then some minor ones in between that. But those were all without seeing anything but the first bill.
Who lives in Lancaster?
Several people.
Your friends?
Yeah,
relatives?
I don't know how many different people.
What's Diamond Bar?
A place in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I don't know what's down there. I don't know who exactly those numbers are.
How many children do you have?
2 and 1 on the way.
I gather from looking at these papers that your parents don't see your children anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
My mother has alienated most of our family. Other siblings don't speak with her, and then we go to my children. We went to Vegas one weekend. It's just numerous things. I guess my wife can explain it better than that. It was more both of our decision.
Okay, I'll hear you.
Basically, it's just that she doesn't recognize us as parents. We'll ask her not to do something, and it's constantly going over the line that's set.
Give me an example.
It started when they were planning their trip to Ohio, and she told Theo in front of my 3-year-old, they're 3 and 5, she told the 5-year-old, because that's her favorite, she's made that very clear, that he would be going on her trip with her to Ohio for like 3 weeks was the plan. This was before she ever talked to me or my husband. I came to pick them up because they had spent the night I think my son said something like, I get to go on an airplane. And I was like, what? And they said, oh yeah, we think it's a good idea for him to come to Ohio with us for our vacation, and went on. Well, they had already said this to my kids. You don't discuss something with a 5-year-old before you make sure it's
You're
okay.
absolutely right.
And then from there, I mean, other things have happened.
Was
Just,
that recently?
Yeah, she just went in.
June, beginning of
July.
July was their trip,
But I
and
mean-
it was before that it was discussed.
The situation directly before they left, I mean, she told them, you know, when the fare comes, I'm going to take him on, oh no, I'm going to take him to a glider ride. And we told him, no, you're not going to a glider ride. We were sitting, you know, Theo came and said, I'm going on an airplane, a glider ride. And we were like, no, that's not going to happen.
And that was
your wife explained it much better than you did. Did you say that to your 5-year-old, that you were going to take him on a trip?
We were talking about going on our trip. He said he wanted to go. He wanted to know how we were getting there, what we were going to do, and he just was planning on going. And they told him no, it worked out. They called us every day while we were on vacation. Everything was just fine.
There was the blow up about, please don't say these things to him before you talk to me or Danny and know what our answer is. Okay, the glider thing, that was for her birthday. She wanted to take a glider trip, and she wanted her grandson to be with her. Again, she told him that she said, because when we picked him up, that she said, I told Theo that he will be going on the glider with me for my birthday. We said, hi, we're the parents. Could you try to talk to us about these things before you discuss it with Theo? 5 minutes after that, she said, oh, fine then, I'll just take you up in a helicopter ride at the fair. Right in front of us without, again, saying anything. I think this all started, all the lawsuits and everything, after we went to Vegas. She has 5 or 6 foster kids, and it's a fun thing for the kids to go and spend the night in the tent in the backyard once in a while. Thursday night they called and asked, can Theo and Brian stay in the tent? They're going to spend the night in the tent tonight. We said, okay, sure, fine. We had already planned for them to watch the boys that weekend when we went to Vegas. I came home, my son comes home and says that he ended up spending, okay, obviously he spent Thursday with our permission, Friday, Saturday night also in the tent. I know with 6 kids, my 5-year-old was in the tent all weekend long. He didn't get sleep. He fell asleep within 10 minutes of being home. That upset me.
Just a minute. Were you in Vegas?
Yes, I was.
Did you have a good time?
Yes, I did.
If you were in Vegas and had a good time when you came home, you have 2 kids?
Yes.
Nobody was in a cast. Nobody had gone for surgery. Right? Shh. Listen.
Okay. Yeah.
No. Believe me, been there, done that on both sides. Not very hard.
Your Honor, excuse me. Okay.
You have to respect the fact that they're the parents. You, on the other hand, have to understand that if you ask somebody to do you a favor and take care of your children so that you can go on vacation, you relinquish a certain amount of parental authority. So if she wants him to sleep in a tent, if she wants him to sleep on top of a bunk bed, then you just suck it up and say, I had a great 3 days, and the next time, if you don't like the sleeping arrangements, stay home. I guarantee you that once you have the 3rd, it's going to be very hard to get somebody to watch 3 children while you go to Vegas. 3 children being babysat for by somebody who cares for them. I don't care which one is her favorite if she's got one. It doesn't make any difference. Who cares for them? Not a stranger. Grandparents spoil their grandchildren. It's one of the pleasures. Parents like to say, I'm in charge. Listen to me. And you're right. You're in charge. You have the right to make the big decisions if they're going to go on a trip. And you're absolutely right. Before Grandma says you want to come to Ohio with us, she shouldn't say anything. She should just say, we have to talk to your folks about that. And just leave it. Go on to something else. Get his mind off it. And then come and say, yeah, I'd really like to take him on a trip. Would it be all right with you? You're absolutely right. I'm not faulting you. But sometimes things happen, and you don't, just because they're grandparents, not that they're perfect. So it may not have come out just the way you thought it came out. The saddest part is you are taking away your children's right to enjoy the widest possible circle of love and affection that they can. And that's from their grandparents, as well as you.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So you shouldn't do it.
But my growing up and my family's growing up with my mother and my father has been totally twisted since we were young.
Then what'd you let him babysit for your children
okay,
for?
But
No, no,
What,
you answered my question.
because, you know, I was still in the stage of, you know, mommy's, it was a convenience, and Abe,
No,
mommy's
it's
still
a
there.
convenience.
Okay, and then...
So if you say your mother's twisted and your father's twisted, you wouldn't leave them alone
but
with the
it
two
comes
children
up-
that you like.
That's where we're at right now, and that's why these lawsuits came up, and I have a tape that'll show you, and I have a witness outside that'll come in here and state to you with the email she sends him one day, let me give you something, the next day I'm gonna hang your butt in court. And my witness is outside, and he's...
Not interested.
Okay.
Not interested. You had a big mouth, and somebody's used used the phone this much. I mean, I have a cell phone. I don't even know the number. If I have to call the police on it, if somebody is mugging me, I use it. Otherwise, I'm like a normal person. I sit down near a phone, I make a phone call. Right? If you want to sit on the phone for hours and hours and hours and hours, then you got to pay for that. And if your mother made these little loans to you, she says they're little bits of loans to you. I have a feeling some of them are loans and some of them were not. When you give a child $15, you give a child $20, and you keep doing it over the course of time, then you don't say, well, it was really a loan. And you don't loan your child $15. Did you ever loan your child $15?
Your Honor?
I've never loaned my children anything.
Right. So,
Right.
Well, that's true. And I can understand you saying to your daughter-in-law at some point, you worry about it when he gets out of jail because you felt maybe a little bit guilty, a little bit responsible for the children, for their welfare if he wasn't around, so you helped out a little bit. Miss Allen, that's what parents do.
Right.
The saddest thing that I find here is that you're not seeing your grandchildren, and that's the wrong thing to happen.
She won't.
It's not just the two things that we've mentioned. As long as you do everything that she wants you to do or she's happy, then everything's fine. Just like, I mean, we've been in many arguments. The phone's okay until we get in an argument, then she mentions it. We say we want to see the bill. It doesn't happen. And then we get over the argument and everything's fine for a little while.
We've offered her the phone back as
Do
soon as
you
we offer it
understand-
back.
But when it's a big blow up,
Do you understand why you're here, though?
The cell phone.
No.
We could be here because we filed for a restraining order.
You're here because she can't see her grandchildren. That's why you're here. That's the only reason that you're here, is because you say this 5-year-old is her favorite.
But it's a pattern. She's also got a lawsuit against our brother-in-law, and
She's
she can't,
suing everybody.
It's not
Your
about
Honor,
not seeing that
They
grandchild.
both filed for restraining orders against me, which neither one of them showed up for in court after I paid an attorney.
For him.
They owe me $500 for lawyer fees.
Listen, I just said to your son and daughter-in-law that the reason you were here and the reason you were angry is because you weren't seeing your grandchildren. That doesn't mean that I don't find that they owe you some money. I think that they do owe you some money. But I also think that you have to grow up a little bit. And if you want to avail yourself of babysitting services, and if they use Huggies instead of Pampers, and if they don't give them a tubby every night like you would, you just have to blink your eyes and say it's part of the price you pay for going away on vacation.
I understand.
That's it. So if you can come to terms with each other, fine. And if what you're doing is being very angry with each other, then I can't do anything about that. And then, anyway, you owe them $2,200. That includes some of the phone bills, some of the loans. I wish I got smarter and started keeping track of what my kids owe me. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may stay.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Hardesty, step forward, please.
19-year-old entertainment agent Jessica Miller and her husband, Howard Miller, are suing Jessica's cousin, 18-year-old carpet installer Stephen Hardesty, for breaking a lease. Stephen says Howard has a problem controlling his anger.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the defendant is your cousin. Whose cousin is he?
Mine.
According to your complaint, he signed a lease with you to live in some sort of property that you had for a year. He lived there for a couple of months. You claim he owes you for 10 months' rent because he left voluntarily.
Right.
And the defendant says that he was forced to move out by your husband, and therefore he owes you nothing. What kind of property did he rent from you?
My husband and I have a townhouse that we rent. When we signed the lease, he also signed the lease with us. We don't own it. We rent it from somebody else.
Your husband and you signed the lease when?
June 1st of 2001.
When did the defendant sign the lease?
Same date.
So what happened?
We had a few rules in the house. Before everybody moved in, we agreed on a few rules, being no drugs at all. It had to be quiet at night. You had to clean up after yourself. Just basic house rules. For the 6 weeks he lived with us, we had fights every other day about house rules not being cleaned up and stuff like that.
One afternoon, his girlfriend at the time had said something to my husband about me, and when I got home that night, he said, don't talk to him, we're going to have a house meeting when we get home.
Was his girlfriend living there?
She was, but she wasn't supposed to be. The deal with that was they have a child together. She was supposed to stay weekends so he can see the baby, and she could come over so he could see the baby.
Whose rule was that?
It was just an agreement we had until they got married, because she couldn't go on our lease until they were married.
Why not?
Because she's underage. She's only 16.
Shh. Okay, go ahead.
So she had an altercation with her parents to where she had to stay at the house. That was fine because the baby was there and there wasn't a whole lot of problems. But things just started getting out of hand. She wasn't working and neither was I. So we were supposed to take care of the house. And it seemed like it was me always scrubbing the bathrooms and cleaning the kitchens and doing everything. There was a lot of fighting going on. And one night in particular, they had some people over and they had a food fight. There was chocolate cake smeared into my living room carpet. I had an ornament that was precious to me broken. So I told him about it because I was very upset, and he was going to talk to them when they came in. And things got out of hand with them, and he said, look, Sarah's got to go. She's not on the lease. She's not even old enough to live here. She's got to leave. So that started a huge fight. And one thing led to another, and Steve said, well, she has to go. I'm going too. So he left, and he came back about an hour later with a cop to get a few things out of the house, and we hadn't seen him since.
What have you done to try to rent that other?
We can't rent it because his stuff is still there.
What's there?
His bed, their clothes, other personal things of his, paperwork they left there, boxes of other
What's
things.
all your stuff doing there?
I wasn't able to get a hold of them to go get
Well,
it.
the house hasn't moved. You take a police officer and you go over there with a truck and you get your stuff.
That is not why I had the police over there.
I don't care why you had the police over there. Okay. I'm going to assume as follows, that they told your girlfriend to leave, and you said, if she and the baby go, I'm going too, and I consider that an eviction of you. Do you understand?
Ma'am, at that time, the baby wasn't living there. Her mother had taken the baby.
Yes, because of all the yelling and screaming that her husband did. Whenever my daughter would
you
see him, she
understood
would
that
cry.
if you said Sarah's going, that he was going to go too.
No, because they had fought and she had left 3 or 4 times.
When did you physically leave the premises, sir?
July 19th.
Did you pay July's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay July's
Yes.
rent? What was your share of the rent?
$375.
So August, September, and October, so far you didn't pay,
No, ma'am.
right? It's not a very difficult case. If you tell the girlfriend to leave, he's going to leave. You told the girlfriend to leave?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Mr. Hardesty, he says that he just told your girlfriend to leave. Did he tell you to leave too?
Not exactly, but once I told him that if she was leaving, I was leaving too, he said, fine, get your stuff and get out. And then he calls my wife a derogatory name.
When did you get married?
July 20th.
So
And-
this all happened the day before the wedding?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then after he made the derogatory comment, I told him to shut up, that I was not talking to him. And then I heard my wife get out of the car and say something, so I looked over, and then when I went to look back, he punched me in the side of the face.
Ma'am,
and then
that's
I
not
left.
how that happened
No,
at
ma'am.
all. What had happened was our stairwell comes into our living room. He and I were standing on the stairwell, and he was standing in front of it.
No.
Sarah had said many, many comments that night about me being a fat, lazy because I did not work. I stayed home to take care of our home. There were a lot of derogatory comments that every single person here said something. What had happened when he said she has got to go? Stephen said, well, she is not leaving without me. So he said, fine, I'm leaving. He went downstairs, and as he said, I followed him down. I said, look, this is not the way I want things to end. And we pretty much agreed that it had to end that way. There was no other way. So he walked out to his car to see what she was doing. When he came back up, he came at my husband. And my husband just held his arms out to push him. So the step under our house, he just didn't make it up the step. And then when he got back up, he came at my husband, and my husband swung at him.
his arms were out like that, so I thought he was trying to tackle me.
No, ma'am.
So I swung at him.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, since you have been required to pay the full rent for the months that he has things there which do not enable you to rent that part of your house to somebody else, you have to be compensated for that. You have to do, however, whatever you can to find someone else. But if you're going to rent the house to somebody else, you have to start looking. You can't start looking until he gets his stuff out. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to get all of his stuff. 5 days from today, all of your stuff is going to be out in the street. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are going to call Salvation Army or whatever else and have Salvation Army come the next day. So you have 1 day to get your stuff. Other than that, it's gone. Clothes, pictures, valuables, bed, dresser, anything else that's there. You got 1 day to get it.
Why should I only have 1 day when
Because
they
that's
told me
what
to
I'm
get
giving
out?
you. 1 day, unless you pay rent, which you haven't done. Do we understand each other? I'm going to reduce
no.
this to an order so that you can read it over and over again and understand it.
But what if all of my stuff is not out?
Sir, they don't want your stuff, and it's been 4 months already, and you haven't gone back for it, so I assume you're not missing it. Okay, so then you have a month to find somebody else, because I am awarding you 4 months' rent, or $1,500. Sir, you got a very narrow window to get your stuff out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rosen versus Dina Cola. Step forward, please.
29-year-old computer consultant David Rosen is suing his ex-girlfriend, 26-year-old computer technician Maria Dina Cola, for an unpaid loan to move.
Mr. Rosen, your complaint alleges that you and the defendant were dating for a while, and
Yes.
you made a loan to her in the amount of $3,000, and that was in order to help her move.
Correct.
Tell me when you made this loan to her.
October 4th.
And how long had you been dating before you made this loan to her?
Approximately 6 months.
And tell me the circumstances surrounding the loan.
Well, first off, we met in a chat room on the internet, online, and she was moving into a new apartment, and at the time she had the money in her account, but she claimed that her father needed to borrow some money from her for some reason, which I don't really know, and so that meant that to make the rental deposit, she would need to take money out of her 401k, and I just couldn't have her take that money out for tax reasons, and so I wrote her the check for $3,000.
That doesn't sound like a loan.
We verbally agreed.
No, tell me what you said to her and what she said to you. She said to you, I'm going to take the money out of my 401k. And you said to her, don't do that.
I said, and I don't remember the exact wording, but I said,
Try as
on the
closely
condition,
as you can. Yes, don't tell me something. Don't tell me something I'm not going to believe, Mr. Rosen. Tell me something
Right.
very believable.
Right. On the condition that she pays me back within approximately 2 weeks, that I will write this check to her. Now, actually, I do have the canceled check.
She doesn't dispute the fact that you wrote her a check for $3,000?
The canceled check actually has an item in the memo field that
I'd like
says
to
that
see
it was
it.
a loan. Yeah.
Just a minute.
There you go.
Show her this check, please.
That's the check he gave me, but the part about the loan for rental deposit was not there when I cashed that check.
That's possible.
That's not true. It was there when the check was cashed.
Mm-hmm. The pen is the same. Certainly the handwriting is the same. Now, you tell me about the circumstances surrounding this $3,000.
Mr. Rosen and I were in fact dating, and at the point that I was moving to a house, not an apartment. Not only did he give me this money, he co-signed so that I could move in. He paid for my moving expenses, he got me the truck and helped me move. The reason I moved, I was comfortable where I was. He thought that it was a better idea for me to move because he didn't like my neighbors. He expressed sentiments that were racially biased. He didn't like where I lived. He thought it would be better for me to move. Helped me to move, and like I said, co-signed for me to move in, took care of everything for me. Never was I mentioned this as a loan. After I moved in, he started to get more and more possessive and more trying to tell me what to do, dictating so far as what I should buy at the grocery store. And my witness here saw that he would. But the point I'm trying to make, Judge,
that's not true.
Mr. Rosen, don't speak to her.
The point I'm trying to make is that He gave me this money so that I would do what he wanted, and
Just
it
a
was not
second. I want you to tell me your version surrounding
the money.
the money.
Okay. There were some things going on in my life, and I did need the money.
For what?
Moving expenses and things like that. To move, to make sure that I was okay when I did move, get things that I needed when I moved, things like that.
Okay, and you didn't have the money.
No.
Why?
I have a child and I work, but I just didn't have enough. I didn't have that amount of money to move. It wasn't within my budget.
Did you in fact tell him that you were going to take money out of your 401k?
Yes, I did. We were dating. We spoke about what I was going to do. Was I going to take money out of my 401k? What should I do? At that point, he then said, I don't mind helping you out. Because at the time, I guess that was how he felt. There were other instances of him doing things like that, giving me money, buying me things.
I don't want to hear about other instances. That's not what we're hearing
In this instance, he did in fact give me the money. It was not a loan. I would not have taken the loan because I knew that I didn't have the means to pay it back.
No, it absolutely was a loan.
Mr. Rosen, don't speak. Now, on what date did you sign the lease?
To be honest,
think very hard.
I'm going to say the 14th of October. 14th or 15th of October was my move-in date.
That was your move-in date?
Yes.
I asked you when you signed the lease.
The day that I moved in, I signed lease.
When had you found the house?
Right around the 1st of October.
And who went with you to find the house?
Mr. Rosen did. He actually did the looking on the internet for me, helped me find all the ones we went to look at, and he physically took me and we went.
Now, how much after Mr. Rosen gave you this $3,000 did you break up with each other?
I'm going to say December of that same year.
Where had you been living prior to moving into this house?
A condo about an hour away from where I moved.
And how long had you been living there?
Approximately 6 months. It was nearing the end of my lease, so 6 months, ma'am.
When was your lease over there?
October of that year.
So you were planning on moving?
No, ma'am. It was just time to either renew or decide what I was going to do.
Actually, she was being kicked out for noise complaints of the place that she was living in at the time, and she needed to move. Also, as far as proof that this was a loan, I do have an email where she actually states that once she files her taxes, that she will that she plans to repay.
Thank you.
It's the part outlined in blue, the last line or so.
I dispute that I sent him an email because after we booked.
Show this to the defendant, please. Seemed to indicate in that email that you planned on paying him back.
Can I respond? I did send him part of that email because he was stalking me, but the part about paying him back was not in the original email. I did not put that part in the email.
I did not modify that email at all.
Shh. Look at me. Don't look at her.
Sorry.
I did, that's a true statement. I did write most of that. I did not write about filing my taxes, only because I didn't get any taxes back and I knew I wasn't going to. I wrote that because he was constantly stalking me. And
what do you think he was stalking?
I was not stalking
you.
you.
Shh. Hey.
Sorry.
What do you think he was stalking you for?
At the time we broke up, he didn't want to break up. He said he used to leave me phone messages. Never once was there anything about owing me money.
Mr. Rosen, if you speak to her again,
I'm sorry.
Is the only part of this email, madam, that you claim that he distorted or added to the part about your taxes?
Yeah, because
All right. Then let me read to you what you said to him first. You said, my phone wasn't disconnected Friday because I was home all day and my mom and dad kept calling me and I'd been in the hospital the night before. Okay? You wrote that. Like I said, I will email you next week to let you know when you can get your money.
Can I tell you how that was altered? At the time.
That has not been altered.
Mr. Rosen!
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
You keep saying it, but you keep forgetting.
At the time, he had things in mind that he still has, and what we were supposed to meet to do was exchange those things. There was never any mention of the money. What that did say was that he has my rollerblades, which he still has. He has another pair of rollerblades he bought me while we were dating that he wouldn't give back. That's what that email was about. That's it.
Where is your copy of the email?
I don't keep emails. I mean, he keeps everything that's ever sent to him.
Good.
I don't.
Let us say that somebody, out of the goodness of their heart, because they feel as if you are strapped and you have a child, says, here, don't take the money out of your 401k. You'll have tremendous tax consequences. It'll be double that amount. Here's $3,000. And within a brief span of 8 weeks, you break up with each other. You say he broke up with you say you broke up with him. then the right thing to do is to pay him back for $3,000. Doesn't that seem right to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So pay him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Thank you,
You may
Your
step
Honor.
out.
I've been trying for an entire year to get this money from her.
He would call me many, many times in the same day. My roommate saw him twice in the area of my house. He doesn't live there, anywhere near there.
I have never been in her neighborhood. I don't even know where she lives now.
If he does it again, I'm going to get a restraining order.
I'm just glad justice has been done.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
The defendant was your former fiancée. She also worked with you in your business, is that right?
Yes, she did.
And you lived together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you came home one day and found that she left.
Yes.
She left taking certain of your property. You want back engagement jewelry that you gave to her, and you want her to pay some utility bills and return your property.
Correct, I
That's
do.
what the case is about. Defendant says she worked for you without pay for most of the 2 years that you were together. She doesn't owe you anything. And some of the jewelry she tossed in the river. Is that right?
I still have the jewelry.
All the jewelry?
All the jewelry.
Including the engagement ring?
Including the one engagement ring. The other ring was a Christmas present.
And what did you do with that?
It's at my house. I have
And
both of them.
where is the engagement ring?
That's at my house also.
Well, why didn't you bring it? That was in dispute.
I didn't want to bring it on the plane and I didn't want to lose it. I guess I didn't think
That's
that I
fine.
needed to bring that information.
That's fine,
here.
but you know that that has to be returned to him.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I offered to do that. I offered to give everything back.
Now tell me about the engagement ring. Big, small, how much did you pay for it?
The engagement ring that I gave her was $1,000.
Describe it to me.
It's a half-carat diamond ring. I bought it from a guy I know up in.
Okay, is that the engagement ring that you're talking about?
Yes, but he did not pay $1,000.
I don't care. He's not getting money. He's getting the engagement
Okay.
ring back, and you're
Yeah.
going to give it back to him.
Yep.
All right, so the engagement ring you get back. Now, let's talk about this engagement jewelry.
Okay, what it actually is, Your Honor, it ain't a engagement in jewelry. What she did is when she moved out of my home, I bought her a necklace. Okay, it was a 28-inch gold Duragold necklace. It was.
It's a gold necklace. You bought her a gold necklace.
I bought her one and I bought myself one. She took both of them. Okay.
She took both?
Both.
No, she can't take yours. Did you take his necklace?
He never.
Yeah, but did you take
yes.
his necklace?
Yes.
So far, he gets back his necklace. Listen to me very carefully.
Yep.
His necklace and the engagement ring.
Okay.
What else? How easy this is becoming. Easy. What else?
She also, at the time that she moved out, took my kids' bed.
Okay, so we finished with jewelry. Jewelry is disposed
Jewelry's
of.
done.
All the other jewelry she has were gifts from you, so there's no engagement jewelry. You get back your necklace and the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
And she took your kid's bed?
My kids' bed. It was.
Kids' bed.
I got 2 kids. Yes, ma'am.
That's kids. That's 2.
Right.
Kids would be a lot more than 2.
My kids' bed. Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Took your kid's bed. Why'd you take his bed?
It was our bed that we bought together.
Did you sleep on it with him?
Yes.
So it wasn't for kids.
At the time, his kids was sleeping on it. He had another bed at our old house, which was a bunk bed that was for his kids. That bed that he is talking about, I purchased with my friend Renee. She was a witness. He gave me cash to go receive that for us together. We were together for 3 years. Everything was mutual, everything.
What kind of business were you in?
I
sir?
own my own towing business out of St. Paul,
Towing.
Minnesota. Yes,
And
ma'am.
what kind of work did the defendant do for you in the business?
She was doing anything she wanted to do. I mean, if
Anything
she
she wanted to do.
she did entering stuff into the computer once in a while. She'd answer telephones.
Okay.
You know, it was stuff like that. She'd
You
run-
work out of the house?
No, I own my own shop
Shop.
and everything. Yeah.
Did she go with you to the business?
Yeah, she'd be there at the business.
Oh, fine. But I don't need any help.
Absolutely.
So she went with you to the business. So sometimes she would
Yes,
enter
she
things to
did.
the computer, sometimes she'd file, sometimes she
Yes,
would
she did.
answer the phone. So she worked. How much did you pay her every week?
It all depends
How
on
much did you pay her every week?
right away in the beginning. She didn't get a whole lot. She didn't. When she came to me with 2 bags of clothes, Your Honor.
How
Okay?
much did you pay her?
In the beginning, she probably got about $200 a week.
When you say the beginning, you mean the first 6 months or the first
Well,
year?
probably the first year she got about that.
Okay, so the first year you paid her $200 a week
Yes, ma'am.
in cash.
Yep, and she didn't have to pay no bills at the home. She didn't have to pay for a phone bill. She didn't have to pay for a vehicle. She didn't have to pay for nothing, Your Honor. She didn't
Okay.
have one payment.
Okay, so this $200 was just her spending money.
Exactly.
Fine. What else do you say she took of yours?
I got a list about this long,
Well,
but I'm not
I
worried.
want to tell you something. cull it down.
Exactly. What I'm
Really
looking
like
for,
this, not like this.
What I'm looking for is my kids' bed given back to me, and then I want my bills paid for at the home, okay, Your Honor?
What bills? I
The
thought you
bills-
told me she didn't pay any bills.
After we moved into our new home in March of this year,
I thought you told me she stayed with you and you took care of all the bills.
up until January 1st. January 1st of this last year, 2001, I sold my business, okay? January, February, March, April, May, I paid the bills at the home. June, she started paying bills at the home. June, July, August, September, October, November
Why
were
did she
her
start paying bills?
responsibilities. Excuse me?
Why did she start paying bills?
Because it was her responsibility. She had her own, she went and got a different job, you know, and the money was running out, you know, from me selling the business and stuff like that. It was her responsibility. I still paid the house payment.
Just a second. What kind of an arrangement did you make with her with regard to the bills, sir?
Well, she would pay the phone bill, she would pay the electric bill, she would pay the NSP and the gas bill, and you know, just little bills around the house. I mean, they weren't like the house payment or anything else
Well,
like
the house
that.
is the house in both your names or just in your name?
It was in my name.
Why would you want to make a house payment that's in your name?
Why would she drive a car that wasn't hers?
I mean, you must have given her permission.
Well, exactly.
Okay. Did you make an agreement with him to pay certain of the bills?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay those bills?
No, I didn't. At the time when I moved out, he had told me specifically that I did not need to pay no bills because I was not living there. So
Well, just
I
a
didn't
minute.
pay them.
For how long hadn't you paid the bills?
Oh, it was just, what, I don't know, probably
When
a
did you
month.
move out?
It was November 4th and November 5th, I do believe.
So November. In August, did you pay the bills?
I am not sure.
When was the last time she paid the household bills, sir?
Sometime right around August, September. I got all the paperwork
August or
right.
September? Just listen to me carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
August or September. So she had paid whatever bills you're talking about through, say, September. So we're talking about October.
We're talking September, October, and November, ma'am.
Why didn't you pay in September?
I don't know why she didn't pay.
So what did you say to her when she didn't pay them?
I didn't know she didn't pay them. When I came home from work after she had moved out, NSP had a disconnection notice on my door to shut off my electricity at my home.
So you didn't know that those bills
No,
weren't
ma'am,
being
I
paid?
did not. She told me when she moved out, I asked her specifically about the bills, and I asked her father at the time about the bills. And she told me that she had paid those bills, and she had mailed them out.
Fine. And she didn't?
And she did
So
not.
she was saving a couple of dollars.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sean McMurray says ex-fiancée Melissa Cieslak owes for unpaid bills and for the return of engagement jewelry.
How much do you owe on the bills that she had agreed to pay?
It's $1,092.64, Your Honor.
All right. Are we finished with you?
I do believe that's all I have right at the present time. If I can get my kids' bed back, I greatly appreciate it.
No, you
You
can't. She took the bed. She needs a place to sleep. What else?
She moved back into her mother's house, Your Honor. She
I
had a
s-
bed at her mom's house.
I
She had
assume
two
she
beds
did.
at her mom's
I
house.
assume she did. Okay. What are your kids sleeping in, the bunk bed?
I had to go buy them a brand new bunk bed.
So now they have a new bunk bed.
Yeah, I had to buy
Way
it.
to go. Okay. Anything you want to tell me about these utility bills that you
Yeah.
didn't pay? What?
Basically that he put all the bills in a pile at the house. We went through them together, and me and him actually got in an argument over this whole deal because he put them underneath a big pile of bills, and I said, why didn't you bring this to my attention? I do not receive the mail. It's his house. He receives the mail. He did not bring it to my attention that the bills were due. I had bought in things for the dogs, the kids, the house, as far as food and everything else. That's where my money went.
But you had agreed with him to pay the utility bills.
That's what he wants to say, but it
No, I'm
wasn't
asking you.
really an agreement.
Well,
It
were you
wasn't like
paying
that
those
because-
bills for the months before September?
Yep.
Of course you were.
Because I had another different
All
job.
right,
and I was,
good. Okay, so you are going to, within 5 days, return his ring and his necklace.
Okay.
Not yours. Yours is a gift. And pay for the utility bills that you were supposed to pay for in the amount of $1,092. Judgment?
Your Honor, can
What?
I ask one more question?
Yes.
In my box, along with my gold necklace, was the receipt for my gold necklaces. Along with that receipt was the certificate for the warranty. Now the thing has a lifetime warranty on
A
it.
warranty for a necklace?
It's a Duragold necklace from Kohl's department store.
I don't know what Duragold is.
What it is it's you buy an extra. It's like paying for a necklace. You buy the next higher grade. It's a Duragold is what it's called. And along with that necklace, if it breaks at any time, you bring it back to the department store.
I never heard of Duragold. Did you ever hear of Duragold?
No, but anything's
You
possible.
bring it back to the department store at any time, they'll replace it for no cost. Without that receipt, the necklace
If
is
she has a
useless.
copy of the receipt,
She
should
has
make-
the receipt.
Well, she needs one too, because I assume that you bought her a Duragold
And there are 2
necklace
receipts
too.
in that paperwork, yes, ma'am.
You have an extra copy of the warranty for him?
But can I also mention that when he had showed me the necklace, the first one I got was for Christmas. The second one, he had told me specifically it was in case I ever lost this necklace, it was another one because it was such a good deal.
Give him his necklace back. It didn't work out. Put a period. Move on. You look like 2 nice young people. Do your children live with you, sir?
I have them part-time every other weekend.
How old are they?
One's 11 and one's 3.
They're a full-time job, right?
Yeah, they are.
I just remember something my mother used to say to me, 2 children aren't twice as hard as 1. It's 10 times as hard. And 3 children are probably 300 times as hard as 2. I just want you to remember that.
I will.
Good.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Very defensive, very angry man he is.
I'm not an angry person. We both have our problems, you know what I mean? We're not angry people, we just don't get along together.
I never ever once wanted to hurt him or harm him.
Biggest kick in my face I've ever had.
Before 49 on the calendar in the matter of Byer versus Borowski. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Byer, the defendant was a former employee of yours. She no longer works for you. She was terminated by you. It is your claim that while she was working for you, she misappropriated funds from your business. The defendant says she didn't do it. When did she start to work for you?
She started to work for me approximately 4/10 in the year of 2000.
And what was her job?
She was a secretary office manager.
What kind of business do you have?
I have a heating and air conditioning company and a real estate development corporation.
What were her duties?
She would do most of the office management work, write checks, mail letters, type things on the computer, answer the phones, things like that.
When was she terminated?
11/18/01.
Why?
Her annual review was 8/01, and at that time her job duties were lacking in her responsibilities of her job, and she had a poor review at that time. And with that review, I also began noticing that she was having many problems with taking paper, faxing copies of her husband's job resume, and stealing other items.
What other items?
I have some evidence here. We have QuickBooks. She was writing rebate checks to herself so that she could get the checks rebated in her own name.
That is totally untrue.
That's not what you're suing her for.
No, but it's part of the history of the evidence.
Okay. When did you discover that she had used company funds for her own purposes?
In February of the following
February
year.
of 02. Okay. Let me see proof.
Here's evidence of the order form.
What are these things? Chanel throws, baskets, Pooh honey pot lamp, Pooh prints.
Things that we wouldn't use in the heating company business, ma'am.
Are all of these things bills that are attributed to her?
If you'll notice, the person who placed the order is on the invoice.
Yes.
And they were all ordered by her.
Okay, and you're saying that the items that were ordered
Yes, ma'am.
were not items that you use in your business?
We do not use Chanel pillowcases in heating and air conditioning.
Okay.
And Pooh Bear cups, we don't use those either.
I'd like her to take a look at these, please. Have you ever seen these?
Absolutely. I'm not denying that I didn't order them, but they certainly didn't go home with me.
So you're not denying that you ordered these things?
Correct, ma'am.
And she would order things from this company for your business, but you say not these things.
No, we don't ever use that supplier. There's nothing that we could ever order through them for our
So
company.
you never used these people? All
I
right.
didn't know
Fine.
the company existed.
Ms. Borowski, you ordered them.
Correct, ma'am.
Why?
To the best of my knowledge that I can recall, I must have been asked to order them by Mr. Byer. I did a lot of ordering of a lot of different things. On an occasion that I can recall off the top of my head, I ordered a necklace for his girlfriend's birthday on company funds. There were several things that were ordered through that business that were on company funds. My husband, which was working part-time for the business, in fact, did deliver to Mr. Byer's home. Lots of things would come in and be delivered to the business and would go to his home.
Madam, when somebody asks you in your capacity as office manager, I mean, there are a lot of things here. There's not one or two items. There are a lot of little items. But you would get an order form for these things, correct?
They were all ordered over the internet. In my research and finding out what happened after the fact, I talked to the company. I had them send me copies of the faxes, which I have here, of what happened. She ordered them during the day on the internet at the office because it came to the internet address of our office. And the internet address is Jessica Borowski. And I have that here also.
Not your company.
She used the internet office name Jessica Borowski on our internet at the office.
Why did you do that?
I can't recall ordering anything off of the internet.
Can I see?
And they will not ship unless it's to an office.
These were all done within a relatively short period of time.
Excuse me, they were all ordered the same day. The shipping dates are different. But they were all ordered on one order. And how I found out that I was liable, the bill kept coming for the shipping charges. And at what time, when the bill kept coming, I kept sending the bill to her house. She refused to pay the bill. I saw my company name of GBR on the invoice, so I opened it up and found out that it was billed to me. I called the supplier up to find out what happened. And they told me, well, it was ordered during the day. Your company is responsible for the bill. I said, I never ordered these items. And they said, well, yes, you do, because it came to your company.
Okay, I want you very carefully, Ms. Borowski, to look over these items because they were, in fact, all ordered in November. They are all household items. Hands-free mini phone, an over-the-sink organizer. Clearly somebody was furnishing up a house.
Mr. Byer was building a house at that time. I do have pictures of that.
You don't need these things when you're building a house. These are things that you order when you already have the house built and you're accessorizing the house. So we're not talking about one item in 1 month, then another item another month. We're talking about somebody placing an order for all of these things. So you tell me, Ms. Borowski, why you think that Mr. Byer would pursue this matter since he says, and I believe him, that he didn't get any of these things. So why do you think he would accuse you of doing this?
That I'm not sure why he would accuse me personally. I mean, well, I worked for him, so. But he ordered several things from several different companies all the time that were delivered to the business.
Several and not 35 items, all ordered the same day, all domestic products, Ms. Borowski.
I'm telling you that I mean, those are not mine. Those are not mine.
Go ahead.
I have the coupe de grace here, ma'am. This is a check that she wrote in her own handwriting and signed my name to the bottom of the check register. When she was terminated, the check register came up missing, and I'd like to also submit that there's also several other checks that you can see the difference in the handwriting and the signature on the bottom of the check.
I was authorized to sign checks.
You were authorized to sign checks in whose name?
In his name. If
you were authorized to sign his name?
He gave me permission to sign checks when things arose that he wasn't able to be at the office to sign a check for something, that I was instructed to sign his name to a check.
Is that right?
She did sign when we were out of the office, sometimes on an occasional basis. I will not deny that. It was with prior approval. Your Honor, I would not order a bunch of gifts for myself or my household and then sue her because I didn't get them, or just to sue her for the money.
So you wrote out a check for all these items and signed his name to it?
I could have wrote that check. I'm not denying that fact at all, ma'am.
Let's take a look.
Your Honor.
For the exact amount of the order, $676.
I'm not denying that I could have wrote that check.
After she was terminated, Your Honor, the packages came in. If you look from the order shipping dates, the packages came in a staggered amount. She was already terminated. She was no longer there. Her husband came in, Jeff, and picked up the package as they came in. They started strolling in.
You mean he actually came into the place and picked up packages that were marked for her?
We called them to come and pick them up. Yes, that's true. And he picked up, and I didn't know that I had paid for them until February.
I'm not denying that I ordered things from that company, but they certainly weren't anything that was on there. And I have a refund check that was sent to me that I paid for my part, and I overpaid them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff Byer says he fired Jessica Borowski after he found out she was ordering things off the internet and paying for them with company funds. Jessica says Jeff ordered those items for his girlfriend.
Mr. Byer, is this a company that you ever deal with?
I never knew they existed until I got the billing.
You've gone over all of your back bills from the company to see whether you ever dealt with this particular company, and you did not.
No, I never knew they existed.
And the only order that came in was this order that was shipped on different dates, but all to her attention.
Exactly.
And after she was terminated, you called the house and said, come in, you've got some packages here.
Right.
And he came to pick them up.
Yes, they came in staggered. So we had to call him several times. When the billing kept coming, we kept sending the bill to her, and she refused to pay.
Now she's going to pay judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $676. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was the only employee there handling his finances. There was nobody else to hold responsible.
Evidence in this case shows that she's a pathological liar.
He was wanting to hold me responsible for his mistake of not depositing enough money.
It's a shame that you trust people and you pay them to do a job and then they steal from you.
People should be more careful who they do business with because this guy really is a crook.
Just watch over your shoulder.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peterson versus Thornhill. Step forward, please.
20-year-old college student Serene Peterson is suing her former friend, administrative assistant Jasmine Thornhill, for unauthorized use of her credit card. Jasmine says she had Serene's permission.
Ms. Peterson, the defendant was a good friend of yours. You claim, however, that she stole your credit card and used it without your permission, racking up tremendous bills for which you are responsible. The defendant says she did, in fact, use your credit card. She used it with your permission. You had an arrangement where she would pay the bill, and she was perfectly prepared to honor that arrangement. You knew her for a long time?
Around 6 months.
When do you claim she stole your credit card?
December 15th, I was over her apartment on a social engagement. When I left, I accidentally left my wallet with my credit card inside her apartment.
Go ahead.
2 days later, after searching my belongings, I called her and asked her if she had it. She says that she did, and I went over and I retrieved it the same day.
Your credit card?
Yes.
Go ahead.
After that, everything was fine until I received my statement. That was in mid-January. The statement had some charges, along with the charge that I purchased for Ms. Thornhill while I was at her apartment.
What do you mean the charge that you purchased for her?
When I was over her apartment on the 15th, she asked me if she could use my credit card to purchase something online. I agreed to make the purchase for her.
What did you purchase for her online?
An online thing from Pier 1 for $62.67.
Can I see that bill, please?
Yes.
Now you have certain things highlighted.
Yes, those are all of the charges that Ms. Thornhill made, except for the one on December 5th.
You have one here for December 19th.
Yes, that's correct.
But you got your credit card back on December 17th.
Yes.
You have something on the 18th.
There are a series of charges made after December 15th, extending onto May. I have a complete list. All of the charges I did not make, Ms. Thornhill made.
Let me hear your version of how you got this credit card.
Sure, Your Honor. Prior to December 15th, I had asked Ms. Peterson if I could use her credit card in order to make some online purchases for Christmas and some other purchases as well. She said it was no problem. She would come to my workplace in the next couple of days and she would give me the card so I could go ahead and do that. She came to my workplace as agreed and she left the card in my possession. After that, I proceeded to make a few of the online purchases and I asked her, was it okay if in the coming couple of weeks, if I needed, if I could use it again? And Ms. Peterman's statement to me was, well, hey, I don't have a job right now. You're working full time. If you want to use it, just make sure you pay the bill. I'll send the statements to you and we won't have a problem. So I began to use the card under the verbal agreement that we had made. Ms. Peterson got her statement in mid-January. I asked her what the amount was she going to send that to me? She said no, because of the fact that she had made a charge in December herself. She'd go ahead and take care of that payment. She said, but then when the rest of my charges became evident in the February bill, that I would begin to be responsible for it. In February, as agreed, she mailed me the payment, and I have proof of that because I sent in a money order to make that payment.
Your Honor, may I say something, please?
Go ahead.
After Ms. Peterson reviewed that statement, and I sent a copy of it to her, of the statement itself, along with a copy of the money order to her in the mail as proof that I had indeed made that payment. Then came February, and she received a statement, and she was very concerned by the growing balance. I told her, I said, I can understand that, but it just so happens that you and I have a different standard of the way that we live. I understand some of the things I might buy might appear expensive to you, but I'm expecting tax money. I'll definitely use some of that towards lowering the balance, and I will definitely honor our initial agreement. I don't in any way want to...
Stick you.
Right, exactly. March came along. That's when Miss Peterson, I think, she started to get really upset.
Well, just show me the rest of the payments that you made.
That's the only payment that I made
Why?
successfully. That's
Why?
That was the only statement that she sent to me.
In February?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you make purchases in March?
Those actually, ma'am, were purchases that I had made in February that were on back order.
Then you cancel them. What are you, nuts?
No, honestly, ma'am, you're right. That's something she certainly could have done.
All right, Miss Peterson, let me tell you what I think. I think you lied to me when you said she stole your card and you had no knowledge of the fact that she was using your card till you got these statements. Let me tell you why. Because if I got a statement in the month of January that showed unauthorized usage of my card, and since you weren't using the card at all, correct?
Correct.
Then you cut up the card, you call the company immediately, and you say, discontinue this card, I'm canceling this card, no further purchases are authorized. You didn't do that.
I did, Your Honor.
No. If you did that immediately in January, is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Then you are not responsible for these. If you canceled your card and they continued to allow someone else to use it in an unauthorized way, you are not responsible.
When I called them in December, they told me that they had been trying to contact me because they had red flagged my card because of suspicious behavior. They had also told me that someone called up and got my card reactivated. Numerous times I called them and I canceled my card.
Do you know her mother's maiden name?
No, ma'am.
Do you know her social security number?
I don't know by heart, but I did know it.
Good. Did you ever call to reinstate her card?
No, ma'am.
No. Miss Peterson, what happened is that you let her use your card.
I did not.
Then if these are unauthorized charges on your account and you did not give her permission and you canceled your card, then you are not responsible for these.
That's what I told Bank of... However, they told me, because I told them that I knew who was making the charges, I said, I can direct you to the person who is fraudulently using my card. They said that it's a civil matter now and that I have to bring up the charges against her because they are not going to take them off.
No, that's not true. Call the police. Madam, if what you're telling me is that somebody stole your credit card and used your credit card without your permission, call the police and have her arrested. Simple as that. They're going to arrest her and you won't be out any money. You won't be out any money if what you're telling me is true. What you're telling me is true, correct?
Yes.
Right? You didn't give her permission to use your card.
No.
You're sure of that?
I'm positive.
Then you don't have anything to worry about. Call, have her arrested for grand larceny. You are not responsible for the payments because you did, in fact, cancel your card.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Then we have nothing to worry about. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Carini. Step forward, please.
Sarah Jones is suing her former friend, 24-year-old student Thomas Carini, for half the value of a lottery ticket. Sarah claims when Thomas cashed her winning ticket, the state took half.
You're going to love this case.
I saw some of the notes. I think so.
You're going to love this case. Miss Jones, you had a winning lottery ticket.
Yes.
For some reason that you will explain to me in a moment, you didn't want to cash the ticket yourself. And you asked the defendant, who you knew, if he would
Yes.
cash the ticket for you. The lottery ticket was for $2,500. He cashed the ticket, and the state took $1,250, or half of the proceeds, for some reason.
Right.
Not the defendant. You understand the defendant didn't take the $1,200, and he gave you the $1,250. Is that right?
Correct.
And you want him to pay you the $1,250 that the state took from your lottery ticket. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go and start back. When did you have this winning lottery ticket?
April 23rd.
Of what year?
2002.
And how did you find out that you had the winning lottery ticket?
I watched the New York State Lottery when the numbers came out.
Okay, and what lottery was it?
The 1-4.
Okay, and you knew how much the ticket was worth?
Yes.
How did you find out how much the ticket was worth?
I called the New York State Lottery Department, and I also went online, and they tell you how much it's worth when you go online for how much you played for.
Are you employed?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I'm on workman's compensation.
How long have you been on workman's compensation?
For about 8 years.
What's the nature of your disability?
I have bulging discs in my back, and I had surgery on my left knee twice.
When was the last time you had a surgery?
About 3 years ago.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my husband and my 3 boys.
How old are your 3 boys?
16, 12, and 10.
And what kind of work does your husband do?
Mason work, concrete.
Now, you want to tell me, Miss Jones, why you didn't go in to cash this lottery ticket yourself?
Yes, there are two reasons why I didn't. The first is because I didn't have my license. I couldn't find my license, so I had...
Didn't have your what license?
My driver's license. I couldn't find them. When I did find them, they were in my husband's truck. But at the time when I wanted to cash the ticket...
What date did you want to cash the ticket?
On Monday, the next day that the lottery office was open. You have to take the ticket to the New York State Lottery office.
No, I understand that. So when you found out you had won, did you tell your husband?
Yes, I did tell my husband. My husband was watching it with me when I saw it when the number came out.
And if your husband does masonry work, then he has a driver's license.
He also had to work.
There's nothing in the New York State Lottery rules that require you cash the ticket the next day. Is that right?
No, there isn't, but I needed the money.
You have a year to cash the ticket.
Well, I didn't have a year to get my money. I needed my money before I even won it. I had shut-off notices from everywhere. I had to pay bills. I wasn't going to wait a year.
Okay, so first you didn't have a driver's license. What's your next reason for not cashing the ticket yourself?
Is because my name is in the system also. Because
in what system?
Medicaid helped pay for my surgery.
In what system?
Whatever system this is where they take your money.
All right, so what you're telling me is that you knew, don't give me the baloney about a driver's license, you knew...
Well, that was the deal.
You knew,
believe it or not,
that if you went to cash this lottery ticket,
because
Medicaid had paid for your surgery, they were going to take some of the money.
Yes, New York State Lottery office told me that when I called them.
Oh, good. And how much were they going to take?
The same amount that they took for Tommy, $1,250.
Then what are we doing here, madam?
I want my money back. I'm not going to pay his bill.
You explain to me.
If they're going to take my money, let them take it for my bill, not for somebody else's bill.
You don't even have to say anything. I assume you owe the state money for something. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, for what?
Actually, I was never sent a bill. I really am not exactly sure what they billed me for or if I owed the money. But in the past, I have been in rehabilitation at one point in time, as well as I've been on workman's comp at one point in time.
Whatever. You owed the state money just like she did.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Did you know that they were going to attach some of this money?
No, I did not.
I assume you didn't.
But I asked him to give them a call like I did. And he called me back, and he told me that he called them. And they told him he didn't owe anybody anything, there was no problem. So we went there.
Somebody made a mistake? Miss Jones, you were trying to get over on the system, madam.
No,
That's
I
what
wasn't
happened.
trying to get over on the system, Judge Judy, because when I called there, they told me, your Social Security number is in the computer. If you bring the ticket, we're going to have to take some of it. So your best bet is to find a family member or friend to help you. Don't bring the ticket yourself, or we're going to take the money. So that's what I did.
I wish you had the name of that person who told you that.
I wish I did, too. I would have gave it to you.
I think that you probably ought to sue them.
If I could, I would.
They gave you very bad advice, Miss Jones.
If I could, I would, to get my money back.
Let me tell you something. You're not going to get the money from him.
Well, why? He signed me a promissory note stating
I don't care if he signed you the Declaration of Independence. You're not getting a penny. You tried to scam the system. It backfired on you. Courts do not help you when you try to scam the system. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Jones. Step forward, please.
21-year-old homemaker Jennifer Jones is suing her mother, business owner Helen Jones, for the return of personal property, harassment, and for the cost of new car tires. Helen is countersuing for the cost of a refrigerator and damages to her mobile home.
I've read your complaints very carefully. Miss Jones, the defendant is your mother.
Right.
And according to what I gather from your complaint, your parents are in the process of getting a divorce.
Right.
How many years have you been married?
24.
During the course of the divorce, according to you, you sort of sided with your father.
Right.
You were living in a house, and who owned the house?
Her and my father.
You were living there with child?
Right.
And a boyfriend?
Right.
According to your complaint, you left the house, and without your permission, your mother came in and took some property that you say belongs to you.
Right.
Mother says you abandoned the house. She went in, she took property that was there, some of which she had given to your child, and she is counterclaiming. She says that you left the house in deplorable condition. She has to buy a new refrigerator and other damages. You also claim that your mother slashed your tires and is engaged in a course of harassing behavior.
Yes.
When did you move into her house?
It is March of 2001.
And who was living there at the time?
Me and my son when we first moved there.
And how long did you and your son live there alone?
About 2.5 months.
And then who moved in?
My ex-boyfriend.
And how long did you, your son, and your ex-boyfriend live there?
Until March of 2002.
What happened in March of 2002?
I left and had moved to Carthage with a current boyfriend.
Okay, so you left the old boyfriend.
Right.
Now, when you left the old boyfriend, was he living in the house at the time?
No, he moved out before I moved.
When did he move out?
About 2 months prior to that.
What date in March of 2002 did you leave the house?
It was approximately the second week of March.
Now, when do you allege that your mother came in and took property?
I noticed the property gone April 8th. I went in, there had been a computer missing.
So 3 weeks after you moved out?
Right. I didn't even actually move out. All of my things were still there. I had just been staying with a boyfriend because
Why?
of all the harassment and everything I was getting there at the home.
Right. And what items do you claim that your mother came in and took that belongs to you?
She had called me the day before Easter and told me that she was going to get a swing set out of my backyard, and I okayed that. She then called me the day after Easter and told me she had went into the house, which she had no keys to, and took a children's four-wheeler and a wagon out of the building.
But she took those things. Is those the things you want back?
Well, and then when I got there, there were several other things missing also.
Like what?
There was a compact computer. There was a brand new Kenmore dishwasher.
Whose computer was it?
It was mine.
I have proof where it was Clinton Todd's.
Well, I have the statement that he signed and give to me that he give that to me.
What else?
A Kenmore dishwasher. There was a race car collection, a deep freezer, and all the rest of the
Well, we're
items
talking
that
about
went
months later, Miss Jones. If you moved out and you're living with a new boyfriend, is this a new boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you can't just leave it there.
I left the things there. My father was staying there with me, and I left the things there for him to use until I got another place.
So there was somebody else living in the house?
Right. He was staying there on the weekends.
Somebody else who had access to the house?
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
Now, you acknowledge, Miss Jones, that you took the swing set, the bike, and the wagon.
Yes, that's all I took.
And that was, you say, because?
I paid for it. It was to stay there. She met this guy on internet. He is married and he has 4 kids. I didn't buy it for his kids. I bought it for my grandson. They were to stay there whenever if she ever moved out, and she wanted to take them, and I said no.
That's not true.
Well, you didn't give them to her. You gave them to your grandson.
Right.
It's the wrong thing to do, because I know, I have grandchildren, so I know you didn't say to your grandson when you gave him the red wagon or when you gave him the bike, you can have these as long as your mother is living here and doesn't move away to live with somebody else. You didn't say that to him.
No, the reason why I put that in because she has bounced from home to home, from boyfriend to boyfriend.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Jones claims her mother, Helen Jones, burglarized her home and slashed her tires. Helen says she entered the trailer because Jennifer abandoned it.
Now, your grandson's got to have his swing set back and his bike and his wagon because those things belong to him.
Well, the reason why that I had took them, we went to the mobile home, the back door was standing wide open. That's why I took the things, because I didn't want nobody to take the things.
Okay. So at this point, those things are going to have to go back to your grandson.
Okay.
But your mother says she doesn't have anything else, Miss Jones. What proof do you have that she took those things?
There was a statement filed with the police department there where they had retrieved some of the items that her son had went in and stolen from me, that he had stolen even some of her things that she had loaned me out of the house.
Just a second. What proof do you have that your mother took any of those things?
Nobody else had access to the house.
That's not true. Your father did.
The door's standing wide open.
Just a second. Your father did.
Right.
He had a key to the home, right?
Right.
You said your mother didn't have a key.
Right.
May I add something?
Who are you?
I'm the boyfriend.
Well,
and a
step
witness.
up if you have something important to add, but just make sure it's important. What's your name?
My name's Mark. The thing with her father, there's an ex parte between her father and her mother at this time. And so he would stay at the home on the weekends as long as he could until the harassment got so bad. And the harassment was so bad and stuff that her dad found another place to stay when he was in at different times, kind of just staying with who he could to try to make peace through this divorce that they're going through.
So far, I don't hear much from you, sir. Just a lot of
Well, okay,
chatter.
but, when we were there,
Yeah.
there was a phone call placed by her mother. and her and her mother were in a pretty good argument.
Just a
And-
second. Her mother called and said she wanted to go take the swing set.
Right.
So she
But-
called you and asked you if she could take the swing set, and you said
Only
okay.
the swing set, right.
Okay, but you said okay. So she didn't not ask you if she could take the swing
Right.
set. She just made the phone call, got your permission. Listen, get to the facts. I have a very busy calendar.
Okay. And she has some pictures here that shows a lot of the damage to the yard and to the shed. And the damage to the back door was not there the week that we went there. But the only way she would have had to go into the house would be to tear up the back door.
Well, I don't know that.
And
She
that's
says she
where-
found the door off the hinges. Isn't
The
that
door
right?
was
That's
wide
what you.
open. It was not for the hinges. It was left wide open.
And there's a police report that states the door was pried
Right,
open
it was
and
pried
pried
open.
hanging.
Maybe your ex-boyfriend came back. Maybe your ex-boyfriend wasn't happy that he left you the computer when he found out that you had taken off a couple of weeks later with somebody else. There are a lot of people who had the opportunity either to go into your house or to break into the house. It's not your house, the house. And all I'm asking you for is proof that it was your mother. Do you have any?
Other than that, she just told me she is the one that went in there and took some items.
She acknowledged she took 3 things. Is that right?
Right.
Did she ever acknowledge she took the computer?
No.
She ever acknowledged she took the dishwasher?
No.
She ever acknowledged she took the race car collection?
No.
How old are you?
21.
How old is your son?
He's almost 2.
Is the person that you were living with in the house that child's father?
No.
This man certainly isn't the child's father.
No.
Is that right?
Right.
Listen, you have a child. That child is entitled to have a certain amount of stability. Is entitled not to go from one boyfriend to another, to another, to another until you find yourself maybe when you're 40 years old. So you got a lot more to worry about than a dishwasher and a race car collection. You got to worry about a 2-year-old that you're supposed to be bringing up properly and setting an example for. It doesn't seem to me as if you're doing that. Okay. What proof do you have that your mother slashed your tires?
I had come down and stayed a couple days with my father at a local hotel, and that day they had been driving by, flipping me off, cussing me.
Who was they?
Her and her sister, her son. This was right after they had
How
stolen
old is her
his-
son?
He is 17.
Is that your brother?
Yes.
Well, then your brother. Not her son. It's your brother.
No, and her also. They was
Just
all
a second.
together.
It's not her son. It's your brother. So your mother and your brother and your aunt. What were they doing?
They would drive by, flip us off. They would scream things. Her and her boyfriend would circle the parking lot. The next morning I got up. The passenger rear tire of my car had been slashed.
So other than the fact that they were there the night before, you have no proof that your mother did that.
There would be nobody else that would do that. I mean,
It's very possible your mother did it. It's very possible your brother did it. It's very possible your aunt did it.
She
Do you
has
understand?
no friends or family, so.
I mean, do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's possible. But that's not what we deal with in court. We don't deal with possibilities. We deal with what is provable. Now, you want to tell me about this counterclaim you have for the refrigerator and the damage to the house?
I have proof here of everything that's been done to the home, and from Clinton Todd that he took the computer and the dishwasher.
But he give those to, we had bought some other things together that were paid off, and we sat down and made an agreement, and I have it where he had signed it, what he took, and he said that would be fine since he took the things that were paid off.
Let me see yours. Did you tell him at that time that you had met somebody else?
I hadn't met him when, I didn't even know him when we had separated.
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's not true.
No.
Ha, listen to me. That's not true. Who has the Pontiac Grand Prix car?
I do.
You working?
No.
How are you paying for a car?
I
do. Listen to me. Don't give me an I. How are you paying for the car?
I was working for my father.
But you're not working now, and you didn't work last month. How did you make the last 2 payments on the car?
I made those payments.
Baloney. Baloney. All right, show me the refrigerator. I mean, that's the main thing that we're talking about. Open.
Right.
Right. Oh, she's a slob.
Yes.
She's a slob.
I have the pictures of what they done to the house when
I'm
they
just
went
showing,
in.
just a second. I'm not even looking at the damage to the house because I can't tell who did the damage to the house because the house, according to your mother, was open.
Right.
So we don't know who went into the house.
Right.
Right? Could have been your soon-to-be ex-husband. It could have been Mr. Todd who got angry when he went to retrieve his stuff. Just like I said to your daughter, you need proof. I don't need any proof for this. This is pretty disgusting. Whoever left the refrigerator in this condition, really just a pig. But we don't know whether your daughter was the pig or your husband is a pig. It could be that your father's a pig. It's either one of the two of you. Either you're the pig or your father's the pig. But since we can't prove that you're the pig, I can't award your mother any money on her counterclaim. So your mother is going to see to it that your son gets back his swing set, his bike, and his red wagon. The remainder of the complaints are dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Justice case.
মূলত এরাই আরাকানের প্রথম বাসতি স্থাপনকারী আরব মুসলমান। আরাকান রাজ্যের মুসলিম ইতিহাসে ঐতিহাসিক এবং ধারক এবং বাহক হিসেবে রোহিঙ্গাদের ভূমিকাই ছিল প্রধান। এমনকি আরাকান সমগ্র মুসলিম জনগোষ্ঠীর শতকরা 90% বেশি মুসলমান রোহিঙ্গা নামে পরিচিত। কিন্তু মিয়ানমার সরকার রোহিঙ্গা মুসলমানদের মিথ্যিক অস্তিত্বকে অস্বীকারের মধ্য দিয়ে আরাকান অঞ্চল থেকে মুসলিম সংস্কৃতি এবং ইতিহাস ঐতিহ্যকে দৃষ্টিপথ থেকে মুছে ফেলতে দৃঢ় পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করে। রোহিঙ্গাদের উৎপত্তি আলোচনায় বহুমুখী বিতর্ক এবং মতবাদ রয়েছে। এক্ষেত্রে রোহিঙ্গারাই আরাকানের প্রথম বসতি স্থাপনকারী আরব মুসলমান হিসেবে প্রচ্ছন্নভাবে দাবি বলে করা হয়েছে। রহম শব্দ থেকেই রোহিঙ্গা নামের উৎপত্তি হয়েছে, অর্থাৎ 8ম শতকে আরাকানের চন্দ্রবংশীয় রাজাদের শাসনামলে বৈশালী ছিল তাদের রাজধানী। সে সময় চন্দ্রবংশীয় রাজা মহৎ ঈশ্বরচন্দ্রের রাজত্বকাল 788 থেকে 810। কয়েকটি আরব মুসলিম বাণিজ্য বহনরাম্বী দ্বীপের পাশে বিধ্বস্ত হলে জাহাজের আরোহীরা দয়া রহম বলে চিৎকার করেন। এ সময় স্থানীয় লোকজন তাদের উদ্ধার করে এবং আরাকান রাজ তাদের বুদ্ধিমত্তা এবং উন্নত আচরণে মুগ্ধ হয়ে আরাকানে স্থায়ীভাবে বসতি স্থাপনের অনুমতি দান করে। আরবি ভাষায় অনভিজ্ঞ স্থানীয় লোকদের তাদেরকে রহম গোত্রের নামক বলে মনে করেন, রহম বলে ডাকত। ক্রমশ শব্দটি বিকৃত হয়েছে রহম, রোহাই বা বোয়াই, রোহিঙ্গা বা রোহিঙ্গা নামে খ্যাত। স্থানীয় ইতিহাসবিদ আব্দুল হক চৌধুরী মনে করেন, প্রধানত আরাকান বসতি স্থাপনকারীরাই চট্টগ্রামী পিতার ঐশ্বর এবং আরাকান মাতার গর্ভে জন্মগ্রহণকারী আরাকানি এবং চট্টগ্রামী উপভাষী মুসলমান বংশগত। কালক্রমে আরাকানের রোহিঙ্গা গোত্রের সংখ্যা বৃদ্ধি পায় এবং পরবর্তীতে নতুন নতুন চট্টগ্রামী বসতি স্থাপনকারীদের আগমনের ফলে তাদের সংখ্যা অধিক হয়ে যায়। তাছাড়া রোহিঙ্গা নামের উৎপত্তি মহং শব্দ থেকে রয়েছে। আরাকান বিতাড়িত রাজা নমরিখল 1403 সালে বাংলার সুলতান জালালুল মোহাম্মদ শাহের পক্ষ থেকে সহায়তা হস্তরাজ্য এবং পুনরুদ্ধার করে মোহাম্মদ সাইমান শাহ নামে একটি সিংহাসন অধিষ্ঠিত করে। তিনি নেপালে মুসলমানদের আগমন এবং ইতিহাস সংক্ষেপে আলোচনা করা হলো। নেপালে মুসলমানদের আগমনে সঠিক তথ্য পাওয়া না গেলেও এটি সত্য যে 8ম শতকের 2য় শতকে উমাইয়া শাসনের এখানে আরব মুসলমানদের আগমন ঘটে। তাছাড়া চীন, ভারত প্রভৃতি স্থান থেকেও নেপালে মুসলমানদের আগমন ঘটে। বিভিন্ন স্থান থেকে এসে সংখ্যালঘু মর্যাদা লাভ করায় মুসলমানরা এখানে এথনিক গ্রুপ হিসেবে বিবেচিত হয়। নেপালের পরিচয়। প্রাকৃতিক সৌন্দর্য নীলাভূমি নেপাল। এটি এশিয়ার মধ্যস্থলে অবস্থিত একটি পর্বতময় দেশ। এর উত্তরে চীন এবং বাকি 3 দিকে ভারত। সম্পূর্ণ স্থলভাগ দ্বারা বেষ্টিত। নেপালের আয়তন মাত্র 56,827 বর্গ মাইল। এর রাজধানী কাঠমান্ডু এবং ভাষা নেপালি। 2010 সালে আদমশুমারি মোতাবেক সংখ্যায় 2,93,000 জন জনসংখ্যা ছিল। 1968 সালের 21 ডিসেম্বর তারিখে এখন রাজস্ব প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়।